Condition orange. Menu option. Condition orange. Situation Delta in effect. Please enter your agent number now, followed by the hash key.
We have to create culture. Don't watch TV. Don't read magazines. Don't even listen to NPR.
Time comes when silence is betrayal. More for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. Think for yourself. Question authority.
This code has been compromised.
Welcome back, Truth Seeker. This is the Gematria Effect. I'm Zachary K. Hubbard. If you've never listened before, we're on 3 hours every Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Pacific to 9 p.m. Eastern. We stream live on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and search Zachary K. Hubbard, channel should pop up. And if you want to call in tonight, this is a caller-friendly program, 213-233-3998. That's the number to call in, 213-233-3998. Be taking your calls all night. Apologies, the audio content isn't going to be as good as it normally is because I'm trying to figure out what happened to my microphone. Somehow the power cord from the microphone's missing, and I'm totally mystified because it hasn't gone anywhere. I pretty much only use it on the radio show, and I'm really scratching my head about that. So got to figure out where the old power cord is for the microphone. So tonight we're just going with the built-in laptop mic, which isn't nearly as nice, but it'll have to suffice. So one little programming note. Again, if you are tuning into my program, it is very much caller driven. I put out a ton of content every single day, blog, YouTube channel, and I always feel like I've said all I can possibly say by the time I come on the air. So I like to open up this show to the followers of the program and the voice of the people, if you will. So without further ado, we're going to go out and start taking calls. Again, we're going to be here for 3 hours, and right now we got 6 people in line. So if you do want to call in, the earlier the better. Let me see. We got Virginia up first, New York City, Michigan, Washington State, New York City, looks like Rambo, and Pinehurst, Texas. So let's go out to Virginia first. How are you, Virginia? Virginia? Virginia might just be. Oh, there we go. Hi, Virginia.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well, thank you.
I wasn't quite ready. I just tuned in, and I thought I'd be a while before I came up.
Well, I can come back to you.
But that's awesome.
Okay.
No, let me just ask a quick question. I was a lady that called about the Bob Seger 33 Boulevard decode.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Indeed, I do
went
remember.
to look for it on your blog, and I couldn't find it.
Let me see. Let me see what happens when I type in Bob Seger. Now, are you using a phone or a? That's really weird. I just typed in Bob Seger and nothing came up. That is very strange.
Yeah, the night that we talked last, I went and looked the next day, and I looked like through the last week, and I couldn't find it anywhere.
That's weird.
It was my first time there, so I thought, well.
I know it's on there. Maybe I possibly spelled Bob Seger wrong, so that's why it's not coming up in the search. But I know I definitely did a post on it, so I'll have to go back and find that post and retitle it to make sure it comes up in the search. But yeah, I'm having the same problem as you, so sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. Just checking. And I started your book. I'm in chapter 2. I do have some other notes, but I'm not quite ready. So I'll just go ahead and say have a great evening and let you go to the next call.
All right.
And I was just wanting to find that blog because I wanted to read up what you said in depth about the full decode.
Sure. I'll figure out why that post isn't coming up. That's strange. So I'll fix that and try and do a search for it tomorrow. I should have it corrected by then. So do appreciate you calling in, though. You have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Yep. Bye. All right. Let's go out to New York City.
Hello there, Zach.
Hello. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah, how are you?
Doing well.
Yeah, how are you doing, Zach? This is Mel from New York. I left a couple of messages for you, and I'm a constant. I see every one of your videos, and I was the guy who said that. I think what you're doing is absolutely astounding, and it's fantastic, right? And now for today, I have a couple of thoughts on my mind, Zach. The first one is that on every dollar bill and every single note dollar bill that you have, right? Well, $1 bill or $5 bill, every letter on those dollar bills next to it is the ordinal number.
Right.
I just found that out. Like, for example, if you look at if there's a letter A, there would be a number 1 next to it. If there's going to be a letter B, there would be a number 2.
Right.
And and then some lady in the street, I was at a store and she pointed it out to me. I was like, wow. And then I said, hey, this is amazing, So that's the first thing I want to bring out. So it's all over dollar bills already. If you look at your dollar bills, every letter next to the letter, the number is the ordinal number. So if it's S, it's going to be like whatever that is, 6 or whatever that is. So there you go, Zach. So that's the first thing, right? The second one I want to talk about is it's amazing that all these people that are dying of seemingly natural causes, such as like cancer or, whatever it is. And they're older guys, right? And yet they're dying by these amazing numbers. Like one of your, I don't know if you've done the latest one is the guy who played for the Raiders who died at 78 just the other day.
Right.
And it was supposedly foreshadowed because I saw it on the other channel, one of your buddies' channel, which I was going to talk about next if I can. That was my third point. But here's my second point, like I was mentioning, was if these people are dying in this manner, right? Is it possible that they're all members of this society and they choose their own days of dying? Because, remember you mentioned that movie of that satanic woman, who chose to die at a certain day according to, remember, I don't know the name of the movie. You talked about it in one of your videos.
Heredity. Yeah, I know exactly what.
Seen.
Yeah, the film's called Heredity. Yeah. I think it is
Correct.
possible.
And in that movie, there was that lady, right, who was one of the members, and she chose her own day of dying,
Right.
And so that's what I'm thinking about these people. We're dying at the age of 94 and, like George Bush or whatever. It's amazing, Zach. So what do you think of that? And that's my second thought. And if I quickly throw in my third point, or maybe I should wait for your reply on this.
Well, I think it's very possible that, yes, they are part of this secret society and maybe they have chosen a date. Maybe there's some sort of agreement. You get this life of success and fame and riches, but in the end, you have to bow out by the code as well. It's entirely possible. And the football player you just brought up, Willie Brown, he just died by very specific numbers that were encoded into the Packers and Raiders game. I actually talked about in the live stream I did last night on sports, the death of Willie Brown. But yeah, I'm in agreement with your thought. I think it's very possible. And your third point?
And my third point was this about the guy with your buddy with Jamal Tornado, right? he's pointing out something about the eclipse constantly, right? And I read, and I'm a believer in a book that was a Revelation back. It came from the angels, apparently. Nobody takes credit for writing this book. It's called Urantia. And in this book, it talks about the origin of people, how people came from a cell that was placed by the angels in the waters, in the salty waters of the earth. And from that cell came the dinosaurs and blah, blah, blah. So evolution happens, right? And in that story, they are revealing that Jesus Christ is a real person that was born, and he's indeed like an avatar or whatever you call him. And because of his birth, it benefited all of mankind. And in this one, right, they are very clear. They said on the day that he was crucified, there was a sandstorm. It was not an eclipse that created the darkness. It was a mistaken thing in the Bible. They disagree with certain things in the Bible, and they leave it up to you, the reader, to like read for yourself and make up your own mind if they're telling the truth. But according to them, it wasn't the eclipse, right? So when this guy is constantly pointing out everything to an eclipse, that seems to me a little bit like, first of all, if the eclipse, according to my beliefs, wasn't even there, the whole thing doesn't work out, right? It doesn't play out right. So that was my third thought that I was going to tell you. That was my last thing there for tonight. Thank you, Zach, and I'll wait for your response. And
sure.
By the way, what you're doing is amazing, Zach. Once again, I just want to throw that in. Thank you.
Sure. Well,
I'll wait for your response.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate your support. Derek got really fascinated with the eclipses. It began, I don't know if you recall the death of the rock star Chris Cornell, but he died just before what they called the Great American Solar Eclipse. And around that time, I thought about, his band Soundgarden, their most known song is called Black Hole Sun, sort of like an eclipse. And we noticed how his death seemed to be synced up with the eclipse. And to me, that made sense at the time in light of the timing of that and what he was known for. And Chester Bennington ended up dying on Chris Cornell's birthday, another musician. Supposedly both of them hung themselves, and he had a song related to an eclipse. So I understood like why we were looking at that work and connecting it to an eclipse. Personally, I think Derek's gone a little bit overboard connecting like almost every single story to eclipses. Because I feel like a lot of times when he's doing that, he's not connecting what the story's actually about. Like I know that he did a video on Willie Brown, the Raider who just died the other day, and connected it to eclipse, but it's like really two things his deaths are connected to that are easy to verify and based on a recurring pattern is it's obviously connected to the death of, or it's connected to the Raiders and Packers game that just happened days before. And he did connect it. He did connect some of the things in that, but he didn't connect it to the Super Bowl. And that's where the clear connection is. The Packers had just played the Raiders. And at the beginning of this NFL season, we saw the death of Bart Starr, who died 103 days before the opening day game where the Packers won 10-3, like 103. And we've been documenting all these 103 rituals. Now this Raider player dies right after the Packers game, and he dies 103 days before the Super Bowl. And again, 103 is the 27th prime number, rituals 27. That's a very repetitive pattern with suspicious deaths, 103, 27. And it fits in with what we've documented about other deaths this NFL season. So, Derek can do whatever he wants, but I wish a lot of times he would just do what the rest of the community is documenting and help become part of what's a clear pattern that we're being shown rather than using several ciphers and choosing this eclipse or this eclipse. And we're going to connect it to the eclipse using this cipher today, this way and this way tomorrow. And so I'm kind of in agreement with you, but
absolutely, Zach. Yeah, your videos are absolutely so clear, and that was one of the things that in the beginning that really the way I have your book. I bought your book in Etsy a long time ago, right? When you first put it on, and I was reading it, and I was amazed at your knowledge, right? The way you were like able to like look that you knew about so many different things. That was amazing to me. And also when you make your connections, they're very clear. Like I can very clearly see that the evidence is when you point them out, they are astounding. They are right there in your face, and they're very real to see. And so, in other words, like when he makes this assumption that it's an assumption that there was an eclipse, right? You don't even know that there was an eclipse. You know, if Jesus was really real and everything. I mean, but this book tells us real, and it wasn't an eclipse, it was a sandstorm. So then the eclipse code, either the Satanists are if they're doing rituals thinking that it was a Jesus eclipse, right? And it never happened. That would be like they're starting off on a wrong foot already. So that was my thought, Zach. Once again, listen, you're doing a fantastic job. I'm amazed. Keep those videos coming. I look forward to each one of them. And each time it's like mind-blowing. It's like, wow, it's something else, Zach. So keep up the great work.
I will do that. Thank you. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate your questions. You have a good evening.
Hey, to you too, Zach.
All right, take care.
Talk to you later.
All right, yeah, until next time. Take care. I just got this notification that Donald Trump's going to build a wall in Colorado. I'm going to have to look into that one. Just off the top of my head, I'm thinking, okay, where's that going? Colorado. Colorado equals 133. Government's 133. President's 133. White House is 133. What are they doing with that? Why would they build a wall in Colorado? I just saw the notification. I don't have any details, but I'm just thinking, that is interesting. Don't forget homosexuals 133. Colorado has the first homosexual governor. Unrelated, but just a thought on that 133 gematria. Let's go out to Michigan. Michigan? Michigan, if you're just listening, I appreciate you tuning in. Let me try out Washington State. See what happens here. Washington State.
Hey, Zach, how's it going tonight?
It's going well. How are you?
Good. Having fun with this Zion Williamson injury. I found a huge overlap.
Sure.
The expression torn meniscus has a perfect overlap with 3 of the 4 base ciphers with the term Brooklyn Nets. So I suspect he'll be returning to face the Brooklyn Nets 6 to 8 weeks.
You know why that might make some sense? Brooklyn, New York is 74, like Zion Williamson 74. And of course, this is the 74th NBA season. NBA has its headquarters not too far from there, so I could see that.
Is that 74 in reverse reduction?
Brooklyn, New York? I think that's correct.
Yeah, or Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah, Brooklyn, New York is 74. Trust me, I know that because that's where Etsy's headquartered. They banned my book on the 74th day of the year.
Well, check it out. There's like, outside of the base ciphers, there's 10 other ciphers with a perfect overlap.
Okay.
And that's single reduction KV. Yeah, single reduction KV, Francis Bacon, Frank Baconis, Satanic, reverse Frank Bacon, and reverse Francis Bacon, reverse Frank Baconis, reverse Satanic, English Sumerian, reverse English Sumerian, and that keypad. So there's 13 ciphers with an overlap when it comes to torn meniscus and Brooklyn Nets.
Okay.
I've never seen such a huge overlap. Yeah.
Sure.
So I wonder what else there is to look into that riddle.
Did you look at how many days it is from his birthday? Did you look from how many days from his birthday to that game it is?
No, I didn't.
I would always look at that if you're going to make a guess on a date.
Okay. Probably one of those numbers that comes up in the overlap, I'm sure. But then I just had one other thing. I'm just wondering how the website's coming along. I'm excited to join the group.
Okay, so if you would like to be a beta tester for the site, send me an email at Gematria Effect News, and happy to add you to the list. So we're not far off though. We're not far off at all. Things keep taking a little bit longer than I'd hope, but I think max it's 2 weeks from now. So We're getting there.
Is that Gematria Effect News at Gmail?
Yeah, send me an email at gematriaeffectnews@gmail.com if you'd like to be a beta tester on the new social media website for truth seekers. Yep.
All right, I'll do that. And that's all I got.
All right, sounds good, man. You have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
All right. Okay, we got 6 minutes till the break. Rambo, you are next in line. I'm going to save you for after the break, so you got the floor with plenty of time to speak. Let's go out to Texas.
What's going on?
Hey, thanks for calling in.
Hey. So you got a beat on the next false flag?
Well, everybody's hyping that date November 3rd, which definitely has curious numbers, but the date I'm really watching next is November 8th. Since each 118 date has so far this year, every single date with a connection to 118 has had either a mosque shooting, a church shooting, or a synagogue shooting, or some type of tragic event at one of those locations. So I suspect the trend will continue on November 8th. So I'm watching that.
I would tend to agree with you. What's the days difference between August 11th and November 8th?
Well, I'm going to have to do it here in real time because I actually haven't even measured that, but it'll just take a second here. Let me plug it in. So let me see, almost done. It is 89 days later, which is interesting, or a span of 90. 80.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So you said it's 89 days?
Right, which connects to words such as religion and chaos. And again, we've seen all these spiritual related tragedies on these 118 dates. So,
and if you do one less than that, November 7th, it would be 88 days?
This is true.
Huh. Kind of auspicious. No, I'm not feeling it with the Seattle stuff. I think that's a diversion, actually.
Sure. I'm with you.
If you notice how news is being seeded these days, what they're doing is they're not really disputing people's wild, outlandish, far out things. In fact, they're kind of malign. There's a lot of malign encouragement in social media. So you see an outrageous claim, it's picked up, it's massaged, and I think they have groups of people doing this, because the amount of work and effort that goes into some of these crafting videos that craft awareness, it's straight up propaganda.
Oh, I agree. And what was frustrating for me is the August 11th thing. All the bigger channels that picked up August 11th, all they talked about was the Golden Gate Bridge, right, when the majority of the focus of the story from the beginning was supposed to be Temple Mount. So had everybody been focused on Temple Mount on August 11th, they would have seen that, yeah, an event did happen at Temple Mount on August 11th.
Yeah, that's where I picked it up. Okay, and I said, wait a minute, there's some kind of coordinated propaganda or awareness campaign going on to malign encourage the so-called truth community to run with this narrative. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, and it was well crafted. I'm like, there's some serious money behind it.
And you see how it works as a channel creator, because your videos are getting spammed by all these accounts posting links to everybody's videos on Seattle November 3rd. So it's like, okay, stuff doesn't go viral by accident. There's something behind it, like 1,000 spam bots posting everywhere.
Well, no, all that needs to happen is somebody hashtag your video once, and then you're included. And that's totally out of your control. They can take your original content, put it on any social media site, Reddit. I think a lot of it is emergent from Reddit and Twitter, where hashtags rule. So once it's hashtagged in a certain way, then it's collated that way. But I've noticed that, and it's also an indicator that some of the more important elements, like I think you get a lot of you're very careful about some of the conjectures that you draw based on how you code out events prior to when you think they may happen. Okay. But what I noticed really, and it was so prominent, is how, you know, a certain segment, I mean, it came out of nowhere, and just ran with a conjecture. I mean, it was kind of obvious that your work was targeted in such a way.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, but I would tend to agree with you. I think November 8th is pretty auspicious, and the Seattle thing is a diversion.
Something I just noticed about November 8th is it's also the day leaving 53 days left in the year, and religion sums to 89 and 53. Right. So yeah, it would just fit the pattern that's literally happened on every single date so far this year with the connection of 118. So we'll see.
Right, and everything that's happened with the religious overturn, the Notre Dame, the Christ Church, the Temple Mount.
There's been several synagogue shootings this year. There was a church shooting in Delaware on one of the dates that most people didn't get much attention. Other things I'm even forgetting right now. The Philadelphia church that just burned, the name of that church equaled 118. So I mean that number just keeps popping up everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, my feeling is that they're trying to corral the three major Abrahamic religions into melding together on some level.
I would agree.
So,
yeah.
I'm sure you're aware of the Abu Dhabi Abrahamic religion. Yeah, you made mention of it. Actually, did a video on it.
Yeah.
In Abu Dhabi.
Indeed.
So, anyway, that's all I wanted to input, my friend.
All right, appreciate it. You have a great night. Good timing. We're going to commercial. We'll be right back, everybody.
From the dawn of man, we have turned to nature to help attain balance within ourselves. But somewhere, we lost our way. Western culture is once again remembering the healing benefits of CBD, the non-psychoactive component of the hemp plant. That's why more and more people who use CBD report relief from inflammation and chronic pain, balanced blood sugar and cardiovascular system, relief from muscle tensions, tremors, migraines, headaches, anxiety, depression, and the list goes on. The big question is, where do you get it? iLife is a 99% pure CBD oil made with all organic ingredients, and it's available to TFR listeners worldwide. If you use coupon code TFR at checkout, you'll get $5 towards your order. Head on over to iLife.com now. That's AYA life.com.
Hey folks, guess what the number one phrase that Life Change Tea receives by email? You ready? We love this tea. We love this tea. Time after time, week after week, we love this tea. Life Change Tea gives you more energy, a beautiful cleansing, and fulfills its slogan perfectly. The tea that makes you go. So if you want to be on your health game, log on to getthetea.com and order Life Change Super Strength Tea. Packages come in a 1-month supply, and when you brew this stuff, wait until you see the results. Aren't we all about the results? And with a lot of people's health struggling, we can use a little bit of help. Doctors will tell you disease starts in the gut. So log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Be our next email saying, I love this tea. I love this tea. Get the tea at getthetea.com. Helping America one tea bag at a time.
Once in a decade, a true story comes along that remembers the future. After 6 Amazon bestsellers, I have completed the epic Birth Trilogy, a true story of Earth. By reading the Birth Trilogy, you will journey with the characters from the origin of Earth to its final destiny in a white-knuckle ride that combines the intrigue of Tom Clancy with the epic scope of Prometheus and Interstellar. You will learn more about the purpose of life, the mystery of death, and the true nature of your soul that you thought possible. The Birth Trilogy is now available on Amazon and Kindle. The audio version is a free bonus when you buy the paperback, so even if you're not a great reader, don't worry about it. I read it for you. Use the Amazon app today and buy the Birth Trilogy, spelled BEARTH, or search for my name. I'm Brooks Agnew.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
You're listening to Truth Frequency Radio.
TFR.
All right, we're back, True Seeker. We got 2.5 hours left. We're taking your calls the rest of the way. Before we do, I just want to read this breaking news story from CNN. I guess it's related to the Joe Rogan podcast. One of my favorite controlled opposition stooges, Edward Snowden. Isn't it sad how for so many people their heroes are Edward Snowden and Julian Assange, two media stooges, two controlled opposition frauds? It's very sad that people can't see through these characters. I mean, Julian Assange is supposedly leaking all this information, and he says the official 9/11 narrative is legit. I mean, what more do you need to know about the guy? But look at this. Look at this right here. The latest on Edward Snowden. PSA for all the Area 51 stormers, chemtrail believers, and climate change deniers. Just that sentence right there. So Area 51 stormers, something that the mainstream cooked up itself. Chemtrail believers and climate change deniers. I think they need to switch the words there. Chemtrail deniers. I mean, do you have to believe in chemtrails? I mean, believe something that you can't prove. When you wake up in the morning and your entire sky is a tic-tac-toe pattern with a big circle around it, and over the course of the next 8 hours, it turns into a gray haze that blocks out the blue sky. I mean, where's the belief needed for that? You have to be in serious denial to not see what is going on in the skies, or you have to be glued to your smartphone, as so many people are, and never look up. But I mean, just what a mainstream opening sentence. But here, let me read on. Edward Snowden has searched the depths of the U.S. intelligence networks and can report the conspiracy theories are not true. Weather warfare, weather modification has been going on for the better part of the last century, and it's admitted to. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's something that's part of the public knowledge for people who actually research and look into things. It goes on. As a former employee of the CIA and contractor for the National Security Agency, again, the NSA signed into being by the 33rd president in 1947, Snowden had access to some of the nation's most closely held secrets. And like any curious mind with access to the CIA's version of Google might do, he went in search of powers. Wait, hold on. I had the screen covered. He went in search of answers to some of society's most pressing questions. As it turns out, the U.S. government is not aware of any intelligent extraterrestrial life, he says. Okay, so no aliens. For the record, as far as I could tell, aliens have never contacted Earth, or at least they haven't contacted U.S. intelligence, Snowden writes in his recent memoir, Permanent Record. And the moon landing did indeed occur, says Snowden. In case you were wondering, yes, man really did land on the moon. Climate change is real. Chemtrails are not a thing, Snowden added. The NSA whistleblower addressed the conspiracies again on an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, released Wednesday, saying there's no evidence of aliens and chemtrails and the like. I know, Joe. I know you want there to be aliens, Snowden joked to Rogan, the podcast host. I know Neil deGrasse Tyson badly wants there to be aliens, and there probably are, right? But the idea that we're hiding them, if we are hiding them, I had ridiculous access to the networks of the NSA, the CIA, the military, all these groups. I couldn't find anything, he continued. So if it's hidden, and it could be hidden, It's hidden really damn well, even from people who are on the inside. Okay, so I'm not going to read any more of this, but Joe Rogan, major shill. You know, I had my last channel deleted in part for addressing what Joe Rogan said about people who question Sandy Hook. Joe Rogan said essentially those people are mentally ill. So to Joe Rogan, it's mental illness to question the news media footage given to Sandy Hook, which showed several people run out the back of the school into the woods. And then you get the story of Adam Lanza, a story that makes no sense. So mental illness, according to Joe Rogan. So the point is, what Joe Rogan says doesn't mean anything. Edward Snowden, I've been pointing out for years, he's just part of the news by the numbers, mainstream narrative, supposedly leaking information that it's like, to people who are awake, it's like, I knew that already. Well, what's interesting about that? Nothing. Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, absolute plants, and this is their real purpose right here, disinformation. You know, so just wanted to call that story out, just caught it over the break. And I also found my power cord for my microphone, so we got that going. Sound should be a little bit better. And before I blabber on any longer, let's go out to Rambo. Rambo, how are you today?
The highlight of my week.
The highlight of everybody's week when you
Thanks
call in,
again,
friend.
brother.
Yeah, you got the floor.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Welcome.
I'm getting the feedback.
Yeah, I got your volume up too loud. How's that?
Let me see. Let me test. That's better.
Okay.
A few weeks ago, the caller called in. He a couple weeks. He said I was bad to the bone. I kept meaning to thank him for that compliment. I kept forgetting.
Sorry. Yeah,
I'm still getting a little feedback.
Really? How's that?
Let me see. All right, yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Also, a caller just called earlier. They're talking about. They're asking the question: do some of these celebrities actually choose their death date? There's something from related to that. Not exactly the same, but related to that. From the mid 1990s, a Sports Illustrated magazine. They sent out. They're doing a steroid investigation, and they sent out anonymous questionnaires to, I guess, several thousand professional athletes. And the question they posed, these were anonymous to professional athletes, was if there was a substance that could guarantee that you would win every competition you competed in for 10 years, but at the end of that 10 years, that substance would kill you. You would die at the end of the 10 years, but for 10 years, you would win every competition you participated. Basically, you'd become a GOAT, greatest of all time,
sure,
at your sport, but you would die after 10 years, right? They said the majority of respondents answered yes, they would take it. Mm-hmm. So that kind of does speak to the mentality that some of these people have. Like, if you have foreknowledge of your death in exchange for fame and fortune, if that questionnaire is really did happen and it's an honest report, yeah, there are people who would agree to die for that. Yeah, that's the level of their ego.
That's a really great point. And again, I'll encourage people to listen to the David Bowie song, Rock and Roll Suicide, about being too young to choose it. And you think about how many of these people become famous. It often happens at a young age, late teenage years, early 20s, an age where you feel like you're invincible. You're not really thinking about 20 years down the road. So I feel like a lot of people would make similar choices. If you were told that you could have all the fame and success and, if you're a man, all the women in the world, but hey, in 20 years, we might pull the plug on you. I think a lot of people would take that deal. So I do think that, yeah, it's very possible this is what's going on.
There's also this song by, it's one of the biggest pop hits in history. It's by Gnarls Barkley. It's called Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
CeeLo Green, he was the lead singer of Gnarls Barkley. The song's called Crazy. If you listen to the lyrics of that song, that's actually what that song's about. It's about agreeing to, not only for fortune and fame, but you're also agreeing to MK Ultra mind control. That's what the term crazy is. And the whole gist of it is he's saying, yes, I agreed to it. And that's why he says, well, does that make me crazy? And he says, possibly. That's actually what that song's about as well. But Yeah, so I'm going to talk about some pattern we've been observing, related to something I mentioned last week that you reported on in the news. Because we'll see a lot of ritual elements, especially the numbers and other elements of the ritual that are repeated over and over, like you've mentioned. Sometimes it's organic, but very often you keep seeing the same themes repeated, relating to certain things. So last week, I mentioned the number 17 and its reflection 71, and their relation to Washington, D.C., being founded partially on the sacred feminine. Washington, D.C., between Virginia and Maryland, Virgin Mary. In gematria, sacred feminine is 71. The MVP, as I mentioned last week, of the 2019 Women's NBA representing Washington, D.C., for the champion Mystics is Elena Deladon, whose name sums to 71. Her first name, Elena, sums to 71 in Jewish gematria. You've mentioned how 71 is a prominent number in the Democratic Party 2020 presidential primary, which features a historically large number of female candidates. But last week you did a blog post and video on the first all-female spacewalk by NASA.
Right.
Those same numbers reappeared. Yeah, the same numbers reappeared in that story. Jessica Meyer and Christina Koch, I don't know how to pronounce that, Koch or Koch.
Sure.
Were the two featured, like the Koch brothers,
right.
They pronounced Koch.
Mm-hmm.
And the former mayor of New York City was Ed Koch. It's the same name, but different, so I don't know how they pronounce it. But those are the two astronauts, Jessica Meyer and Christina Koch. Koch sums to 71 and 17. Is that number again? And Meyer, her birthday is July 1st or 1st July, 7-1 or 1-7. Again, consistent. And this is the same birthday as Britain's Princess Diana, who's named after the Roman moon goddess, Diana. And there's another goddess theme, and July 1st makes them Cancer zodiac, which is ruled by the moon. So there's the moon theme repeated. And these two female astronauts they're actually suggesting that they potentially could walk on the moon. And another prominent female is the Green Party presidential candidate, Jill Stein, who's run for president a couple times. Mm-hmm. Her full name, Jill Ellen Stein, overlaps with all-female spacewalk in two of the purest ciphers at 158 and 59. 59 is significant because it's another female-related number. It's being the 17th prime. There's 17 again. It's also interesting that Jill Stein has the same birthday as the state of Israel, May 14th. And that's ironic because the Green Party has the most explicitly anti-Zionist official party platform of any minor or major political party in the United States. That's kind of ironic. Her platform is very anti-Zionist, but she was born on Israel Day, May 14th. Mm-hmm. But again, you see the same numbers and themes repeated. It also makes them Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. Again, Venus is sacred feminine. That's another theme repeated. But it would seem that a country founded in part on the sacred feminine principle would be a force for peace and higher consciousness in the world. Again, the name Columbia comes from Colombe, the French word for dove, a representation of the goddess. But instead, the United States has been the exact opposite, a destabilizing force in the world, engaging in endless war from day one. This illustrates how powerful symbolism is. It's not just art. A symbol is not just a piece of art. Symbols have a profound effect, vibrationally and subconsciously. If you Google or web search aerial view of DC Capitol and add the words horned owl, you'll see that the U.S. Capitol building and dome from directly above you'll see that the Capitol Dome, which supports the Statue of Freedom, which is the goddess Columbia, is surrounded by roads forming the shape of a horned owl. It's unmistakable. It's clear. So the goddess Columbia is, so you have to get a direct aerial view of Capitol Dome. If you put in horned owl, you'll get better results. So the goddess Columbia is actually, you'll see where the Capitol is located. It's located in the throat of the owl, as if it's being consumed. Yeah, it looks as if it's located such that the Capitol is actually in the process of being swallowed. It's just being consumed. So that symbol is actually the owl consuming the dove, because the Capitol has the dome, and the goddess statue on it. So in ancient Babylon, the owl represented the more primordial, earthly, instinctive aspect of the goddess, Ishtar. And Ishtar was the goddess of sex and war. And the owl, some people theorize, symbolizes Ishtar. So they say there's the expression, one picture can express 1,000 words. Well, one symbol can express 1,000 pictures. That's another saying. You could call that owl Illuminati counter symbolism. So you have the goddess symbolism, sacred feminine. Then you have the owl consuming the goddess. That's like a counter symbol. And that explains why a country, founded on the sacred feminine principle actually does the complete opposite. It's also no coincidence that when Donald Trump made that statement, grab him by the, PUSSY, it summed to 71. That statement, grab M-E-M, that statement sums to 71 and 82. Sacred feminine is 71 and 82. That's a very similar ritual where you're pretty much desecrating the sacred feminine. It's the same thing as putting the owl around the Capitol. It's the same ritual, but same theme, but different ritual. But another thing you mentioned last week is you brought up the number 146. 146 representing the date 14th June. And you mentioned some of the things that happened on that date. It's one of those days that reappears often in multiple events. For example, 146, 14th June is Donald Trump's birthday. Mm-hmm. Grenfell Tower in West London burned on 14th June in 2017. On that very same day, Republican Congressman Steve Scalise was shot, supposedly. Well, yeah, they say he was shot at a congressional softball game. Also in Gematria, Game of Thrones, almost a 146. But there's another name that's been in the news at the moment that sums to 146, and that is Joshua Brown. Joshua Brown is said to be the key witness in the prosecution of ex-Dallas police officer Amber Geiger, in her killing of Botham Jean. And Joshua Brown is believed to have been murdered by the authorities in retribution for his testimony. So he's kind of seen as a martyr. Joshua Brown is remembered for his testimony while wearing an aqua green Dragon Ball Z t-shirt, which that's kind of a curious choice of wardrobe. It's kind of childish, yes. That's the thing a 10-year-old would wear. But that trial does seem to be potentially linked to the upcoming Super Bowl. Super Bowl in Gematria sums to 41. Dallas sums to 41. Green Bay sums to 41. Dallas hosted Green Bay a few days after the sentencing trial. Rodgers sums to 41, the Packers quarterback. Dallas quarterback's first and last name, Rain Prescott, sums to 179, the 41st prime. From the sentencing date to Amber Geiger trial to the upcoming Super Bowl is 4 months and 1 day. That's 41. So those are just some examples how the trial could be linked to the Super Bowl, maybe. But back to 146 and Joshua Brown, which sums to 146. The upcoming Super Bowl will be held in the Hard Rock Stadium, named after Hard Rock International and home of the Miami Dolphins. The Hard Rock Cafe, as it first started out, was founded on 146, 14th June in 1971. And that Dragon Ball Z T-shirt worn by Joshua Brown was notable for its aqua green color. That's the same color that the Miami Dolphins jerseys are. So again, Joshua Brown, 146, 14.6, the foundation of Hard Rock Corporation. So that could be a link. If there are any Super Bowl clues in that, it could look good for Dallas at least getting to the Super Bowl. I'll talk more maybe next week on. There's a theme of Phoenix. Phoenix is a theme in the news now. Joaquin Phoenix, who's starring in The Joker, right now he's the hottest name in Hollywood and most likely will win the top Oscar award. You'll see how his name lines up with the gematria of Best Actor, and which is also the date. So I think it's 103, which is the date. The movie actually got released October 3rd, although the official date is October 4th. But it actually first came out October 3rd, 103. Joaquin Raphael Phoenix, 103, Best Actor, lines up with that. So Phoenix is in the news for that. His brother, River Phoenix, might have been a blood sacrifice for his success. River Phoenix died on Halloween in 1993. And it's actually Joaquin Phoenix, actually the one who made the 911 call when his brother died. So now Joaquin Phoenix is rated good. Yeah. And this year on Halloween 2019 is on a Thursday. So Thursday Night Football on the anniversary of River Phoenix's death is hosted by Phoenix. The Cardinals host the 49ers. And also the former Phoenix Cardinals owner, Bill Bidwill, died this year in the same period of the Botham Geiger trial and the release of the Joker movie starring Joaquin Phoenix. So there's a big Phoenix theme. Phoenix is also related to the economy. Remember the infamous Economist magazine cover in 1988?
Right.
Where it said, "Get ready for a new one." But remember the name of the currency? It was called the Phoenix. In fact, on the cover, it had this big kind of Bitcoin looking thing. It said 10 Phoenix. It's a 10 Phoenix. So Phoenix it also has some economic implications. So yeah, I'll get more into that on the Phoenix theme later. But one thing I want to note is that I also think there could be a narrative for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, right now the odds are pretty long on the Bills making the Super Bowl. So if you were to bet on the Bills now, the odds are long. You wouldn't have to bet that much to make a good return. And if it doesn't happen, you didn't really lose any money. So I think it's a risk worth taking. It's a small amount of money to have the Bills in the Super Bowl. And I think it's also related to this Phoenix theme because when River Phoenix died on 1993, his death was sandwiched between two Cowboys versus Bills Super Bowl. In fact, Phoenix comes to 91, just like the Economist cover featuring the Phoenix. I think it was January 9th or 1-9 or 9th January 9-1. Phoenix comes to 9-1. River Phoenix death date to the following Super Bowl was 91 days later. So it was Cowboys versus Bills in the two Super Bowls surrounding River Phoenix's death. So I have a major decode on the Bills, especially the Bills possibly facing the Cowboys. It involves a lot of stuff: tarot, Bible, astrology. So that's too long for this. But also, I noticed that the Dallas Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott, his middle name is Elijah, and I think of Elijah Cummings, who just died. There's a lot going on with the Dallas Cowboys. They tie into a lot of stuff. But yeah, that's it for now. I'll get into that at a later time. But thanks again for sharing your forum.
All right. Yeah, very welcome. Keep up the great work, Rambo. I look forward to the next one. You have a good night, friend.
All right, you too.
All right, take care. All righty. Let me see here. So Rambo's got always a lot for us to think about. We got 2 minutes until the commercial break. Caller, if you need more time, we'll continue after the commercial. But New York City, you're on.
How are you, brother Zach?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. We got the tag team here. Here's Big D first.
All right.
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Hey, man. Good to hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be doing well, man. I had an interesting happen. I drive Uber at night, and sometimes you can get a tip, and the tip will be a day or two later.
Uh-huh.
Like somebody will be drunk, and they'll tip you a couple of days later. So I get a little update that somebody tipped me, but they tipped me $3. So it's a short ride, like around the street, going from a bar. So they made the ride come out to $6.66, so $6.66, ironically. But then it gets better. The distance of that ride was 2 miles, 0.23. So obviously 223, which is obviously the same caliber we use in the military. 5.56 is 223, same thing in inches or millimeters, 223. But then reverse of 223 is 322.
Right.
And the time that the ride was requested, because it shows that on the app, was at 1:11 a.m., which is also for New York and 111. And the date the ride was requested, though, was on October 11th, and Stash was telling, obviously, you dropped the 0, and that comes 111 again, correct?
Sure. And plus, October is the only month that sums to 111 and 666. So.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And then it gets better. It was like the time, I think it said it was it broke it down to 5.82 minutes. So 5 minutes and 0.82 minutes. But 5.82, but if you go 285 in reverse, is it October 11th, the 285th day of the year? Or is it the 12th? Because the day tipped me the next day. The tip came in, so it just, that's what happened. So, I mean, if that's correct, is it October 12th, the 285th day?
October 12th is the 285th day. That's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, but the mileage the time was 5.82 minutes.
Huh. Oh, hold on. Commercials snuck up. I'll be right back, everybody.
Truth Frequency Radio is your #1 source for news and information without the hate, hype, and fear. We're proud to feature cutting-edge programs like The Christopher Everard Show, The Covert Report with Susan Lindauer, Enemy Within Radio with Tom Barnes, Freaky Friday with The Woo Crew, The Gematria Effect with Zachary Hubbard, America's Evil Genius with Travis Cook, Phoenix Rising Radio with Phoenix, Quantum Connections with Lucky, and dozens more. Did you know you can listen from any telephone by dialing 641-793-7117 or call into your favorite show toll free at 833-TFR Live. Uncensored talk and news you won't hear in the mainstream media. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
Words matter, records release. I'm Barbara Cusack. A group of Republicans stormed the House impeachment hearing, delaying today's testimony by a Defense Department official by about 5 hours. Meanwhile, in a tweet, President Trump went after what he labeled never-Trumper Republicans, calling them, quote, human scum. Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger says words matter.
It's not because I think that the Democrats have never committed any verbal sins, or I haven't ever committed a verbal sin. But once you're the president of the United States, your words have a massive impact.
A federal judge ordered the State Department to release Ukraine records within 30 days, including communications between senior officials and President Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani. Correspondent Jessica Snyder details the documents to be handed over in the case filed by the watchdog group American Oversight.
Efforts to encourage or ask for the Ukrainians' assistance on those political investigations into the Bidens, as well as any efforts to oust the ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch.
President Trump took aim at the global climate change agreement during a speech in Pennsylvania, saying the Obama-era Paris Accord would have harmed American interests.
The Paris Accord would have been a giant transfer of American wealth to foreign nations that are responsible for most of the world's pollution. Our air right now and our water right now is as clean as it's been in decades.
Ahead of the release of a final report, Indonesian investigators told victims' families of a Lion Air crash that mechanical and design issues involving the 737 MAX jet contributed to last October's fatal incident. Tesla posted a surprising profit of $143 million in its latest quarter, raising hopes the electric car pioneer may finally be turning the corner. It had posted mostly losses during its first decade as a publicly held company. I'm Barbara Cusack.
You must unite citizens.
We are TFR, Truth Frequency Radio.
Condition orange. Condition orange. Situation Delta in effect. Please enter your agent number now, followed by the hash key.
We have to create culture. Don't watch TV. Don't read magazines. Don't even listen to NPR.
Time comes when silence is betrayal. More for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. Think for yourself. Question story.
This code has been compromised.
All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. We got 2 hours left. We're taking your calls the rest of the way. Last caller got interrupted by the commercial. He was sharing with us one of those strange numerical synchronicities, and going to let him get back to his story here. All right, New York, you got the floor.
Hey, thanks, yeah, brother. Yes, I'm almost on mine. Basically, and then the ride for where I picked him up was on Church Street. So that found that interesting. So the whole combination of having 111, 223, and 322 combined, the time of the $3 tip to come in the next day and to make it, the same thing as the time, which was 285 in reverse and 280 for the day. I just found that very interesting. My point is, though, that is the natural. Would you agree? Is that the natural side of gematria?
Or I often call it the organic side, but yeah, absolutely.
Okay, but my point is, with the organic side, one, what can we, is it just acknowledging it, or can we actually harness that? Like, my point is, can we actually control gematria itself, or we can only acknowledge that it exists?
Well, it seems if we look at the tyrants, it seems that they believe they can use the code to their advantage. So I imagine it's possible, and I've never done it myself, but some people have said they're going to experiment, but those people have never called back in. So it's something to be explored.
Do you think those people that are actually controlling it are getting taught in some type of school on how to control gematria? You know what I'm saying, though, if it's to their benefit, to their will, almost like a magician or a sorcerer would use magic to their benefit. My point is that how do you think they're actually using gematria to change it from organic to actually, modified, genetically modified gematria?
Sure. Well, I mean, if you look at what do we decode every day? How they can contrive these incidents that are in sync with numbers that represent those things. So, if you were going to bake the greatest tasting,
I agree with it doing it. I'm just wondering how they plan it out.
Sure. So let's just say that I baked cakes for a living, and I wanted my cakes to taste the most fantastic. So maybe I order my cake ingredients on the date numerology that corresponds with the word cake or something like that. I mean, that's kind of a silly example, but it seems that that's how they use it. So I imagine you'd have to go about it somehow like that. So
that makes sense. It's kind of like how in the 80s when they were going for the new pistol for the military to replace the Colt 1911, you have 911. The two pistols, the main ones was the SIG 226, and we all know about 226 and many different things. And the Beretta 92, but 92, if you look like 9, you flip it upside down, so it's 26 again, 26 obviously God. So my point is, you're absolutely right. And the Beretta 1, although the 6226 went for the special forces. But my point is, the numbers have to be important. So you're right. So maybe they did purposely call those weapons those numbers to make it happen like you said, like almost. I see you saying by that. So they know the code, but then they plan their plans around the code to kind of make them. I see what you're saying with that.
Sure. Yeah, and gun calibers. I mean, I think of a 38 special, death, murder, killing, all 38. A 44, kill 44, shooting 44. So, and then some of the other, calibers you already went over. But yeah, it does seem that the numbers have been assigned purposefully.
Well, what's funny about the 38 caliber, it's really not 38. Like a 38 caliber is called 38 because I think the measurement from the case, but the actual bullet is 357, and 357 obviously numbers using the code as well. So 357 Magnum and 38 are the same diameter as far as the bullet, but one's measured from the case and one's measured from the shell itself. So my point is a 38 and 357 are actually the same diameter. It's just one's measuring from the outer shell. So it's very interesting to play on the numbers like that. I'm going to get going his stash, and I appreciate you letting me discuss that, brother.
Appreciate it. Yeah, have a good night.
Hey, Zach, I don't have a whole lot, but I just wanted to share with you a book that I've been revisiting and reading again. It's called Behind Communism. It came out in 1951, Behind Communism, by a man named Frank Berton. And basically what he explained in this is something that most people don't want to touch, and that was the communist, Marxist, Zionist conspiracy, also known as the Khazarian Mafia, that runs this and probably helps running this code.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to check that book out. Yeah, sounds like it was ahead of its time.
Yeah, it's a small book, not very heavy reading, but a very important book. So, brother, you just stay safe out there. Great work. Keep it up, and put us on mute, please.
All right, you gentlemen, have a good evening. Good to hear from you. Take care, friends. All righty. So, from there to Austin, Texas. You got the floor, Texas.
Hey, Zach, I'm just listening. Great calls. Great calls.
All right, thanks, Austin. Appreciate the support. You have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Let's go out to Fargo, North Dakota.
Zach, hello. It's Naysay from northern Minnesota. It's been a while since I've called you. How are you doing?
Good to hear your voice. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Say, as I have shared with you many times, as much as I enjoy your work, unfortunately, in my situation of being blind because of Gulf War illness, it's really hard to work the numbers with the letters.
Sure.
But the reason I'm calling in this evening is because you were talking earlier today about the moon. And as a card-wielding enrolled Native American, part of our spirituality / religion, whatever you want to call it, semantics, we pay acute attention to the moon phases and the moon rises and the moon set. And if you take the opportunity to start calculating, whereas you literally get graph paper and I can do this because I have programs on my computer because, we are in a technological advanced stage. So yes, I can still peruse the internet. But when you start grafting the sunrise and the sunset along with the moonrise and the moonset, you'll find some really interesting occurrences occurring, especially when it comes to the seasons where they talk about the solstice and the equinox. They do not follow man's calendar date. They follow the cycle of the sun and the earth depending on their positions within the orbit. Now, if you add on top of that the moon and its dance it does with the earth, you can also calculate the moonrise and the moonset. If you calculate the moonrise and the moonset, you'll see that there is an offset between the time that the moon is risen to the time that the moon is set. And it is so off compared to normal. My hypothesis, because I'm trying to, research and find more validation for this, that there literally is a celestial entity or body, whether you want to call it blue kachina, red dragon, wormwood, Revelations, Planet X, the Seventh Fire Prophecy, many different indigenous names for the same occurrence, where a celestial entity or body shall come close to the earth, potentially causing detrimental activities on the earth, because it's an electromagnetic entity, and the earth is an electromagnetic entity, and the sun is also. And if, just like when you get magnets close to each other, they will repel or they will attract. And if this entity is, as it's getting closer, it is pulling and pushing our moon closer and further away from the earth. And this is why we get what they call a super moon, because the moon is literally pulled closer to the earth in its ellipsis because of the electromagnetic dance between our earth and the sun and the other planetoids. And so the reason that I bring this up, and I might have shared this with you a year ago or so, since 2018, our lunar calendar has shifted from 28 days to 30 days. And what I've been researching is they do not just come out with a calendar tomorrow. Calendars are made almost 8 months prior to the new year, where they say this is the date of the new moon and this is the date of the full moon. This is the date of waxing or waning in the phases of the moon. So that tells us that in advance, the powers that should not be of moonrises and new set and moonrises and moon sets and the length of the days and the solstice and everything. So how are they able to project in advance that the lunar calendar was going to do a 2-day shift in a 1-month time frame?
I'd have to research it more. I always thought that the moon phase was like 29 and a half days, very close to 30.
This is what they're pushing out now within the last 2 years. But as a Native American, the moon cycle is based upon a woman's menstruation cycle. Right. And my theory, this is my theory, one of the reasons why women are feeling so disrupted at this moment right now is because of that 2-day shift of the lunar calendar. Because women are a larger percentage of water than men are. And it's proven that the moon will affect the tides of the ocean. But not only that, when the sun is bombarding us with electromagnetic waves, that we are in synchronicity with that electromagnetic wave. And when the sun is not there, we're not getting that electromagnetic bombardment. But then when you put on top of that the reflection of the sun on the moon, which causes the brightness of the moon, that reflection, just like when you reflect a light with a mirror, is also causing an electromagnetic occurrence in the body, because everything is field or electromagnetic for a loose description. I mean, it goes much deeper than that. But it is incredible, the disturbance of the electromagnetism of not only the earth, but the moon and the sun that is occurring right now, which goes back to theory that this extraterrestrial celestial body is in fact coming closer. And I believe this is also why they're ramping up what's going on in Antarctica, which is a lie, because Antarctica isn't south. Antarctica is actually orientated north, and the Arctic is actually south. And the reason why this is Antarctica is a huge frozen body of ice. And that can only occur as if it is tilted away from the sun more than the opposite pole. And so what we call the northern pole is actually closer to the sun with the tilt of the axis of the earth, and Antarctica is further away. That's why it has such a huge thickness of ice on it. And I have currently talked to a geologist that has been to Antarctica, where they've been, when they do core samples, and during his core samples, they have found a 2-mile thickness of ice that they believe occurred within a 24-hour period in Earth's history. And this goes along with the electromagnetic shift and the actual pole shift. Now, the reason why I bring all of this up, Zach, is because right now, with this craziness of what's going on in the world right now and what's being reported by the media, which is all propaganda, it is disrupting everybody, I believe, because the oldest trick in the book is distraction. And it's the powers that should not be, according to the Brookings Institute in the late 80s, they said in the event of a catastrophic occurrence, as like an asteroid was to hit the Earth, they would not tell the general populace because it would threaten the continuity of government. What would occur if all of a sudden they said, hey, this weekend, as we're seeing all these meteorite showers, because a meteorite is an asteroid that has impacted with the atmosphere, causing it to light up. NASA has said for every one meteorite that they observed, they've missed 100. And so this weekend, and I don't mean to be Chicken Little here, but this weekend we are going to a very special meteorite shower, and where I think there's possibly distraction, because according to my Anishinaabe background, we have what is called the 7th fire prophecy. And when you think of a fire, you think of a campfire on the ground. But where is the ultimate fire that we have?
Uh-oh, something funny just happened. Caller, you still there? Why did that just happen? Hold on. I got disconnected from the call board.
This event.
Caller, sorry, I got interrupted about 30 seconds ago. For some reason, I disconnected from the call board. So if you could rewind just a few seconds and start over with your point.
Well, I was bringing up the fact that right now, with the crazy distraction, the oldest trick in the book is if you keep them distracted, they can't focus on what's really going on.
Right.
And i.e. example, the flat earth movement, ripping apart the whole truth movement. But when I was talking about the ancestral Anishinaabe 7th fire prophecy, they claim, because of fire, the biggest fire that we all know is the heavenly sun. And if a second fire was in the sky, that would definitely wake some people up. Sure. And so it's going to be really interesting. I would put a theory out there that if you start observing in the southern hemisphere between 25 and 35 degrees west and 40 to 50 degrees north, you will start seeing Nibiru or Planet X or the Blue Kachina or the Red Dragon or Wormwood, many different names. But that's all I wanted to share with you, Zach, and I really appreciate what you're doing. My last question for you, sir, is how could I, being blind, get your book so I'd love to read it?
Yeah, I know what there's a woman in New Zealand who's blind who follows me, and she got an audio program to read my book. That's how she interpreted it. But I imagine reading my book through an audio program would be very. She had one complaint about my book, and that's because there's so many mathematical equations. So you got the robotic voice reading to you 8 + 2 + 13 + 14. I mean, that would be mind numbing. So. When my next book comes out, which will be in print, I'll make a point to have Braille versions because a lot of people have reached out and said, "Hey, Zach, I'm blind. I would like to read your book," but they have the same problem as you. So I'm going to have to get a physical copy, and I'm sure Braille is something that you would appreciate. So.
And one last thing too, I'm sorry. I am starting to get my daughters to reflect a little bit on what you're teaching us all.
How's that going?
9:20 p.m. My youngest finds it kind of cool. My oldest, she's 16, and it's really hard to battle against the dominant society and trying to educate these younger people, especially when we got a separate household. But she's very well, she calls me out, and we have some really good debates. So I know I got a critical thinker in my children. So hopefully they'll help the world.
Very cool.
Oh, sorry, my computer's talking in the background. I'll let you go. Thank
All
you,
right,
Zach.
friend. You have a good night. Take care.
Toodles.
And again, I have no doubt that he's correct about the moon influencing us as people. You know, if you've ever worked with people who have behavioral challenges, if you will, like for example, I worked in a group home and I worked in a teen homeless shelter. Whenever the full moon came around, man, those were the nights where the behavior disorders really came out. Usually in those types of places, you have to write incident reports, and you would notice month after month, you'd be like, man, I'm writing the most incident reports when the moon is full. There is something to this. And it makes sense because, I mean, if the moon's pulling, you know, the water of the world, and we have so much water in us, and there's obviously something to it. So that said, let's go out to California.
Shit. Is that?
Hey.
What up, dude, brother Paul?
What's up?
Hey, real quick, I was just curious if you had known if you had emailed me any of that website info yet.
Okay, I think I dropped the ball on this. Remind me what I was supposed to send.
No, just that website info. No, not supposed to. I was just I sent you an email for your website for testing.
Oh, beta testing. Okay, you sent me an email. Okay, I will be checking those out after the show. Appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you, brother. All right, that's about it. All right, man. You have a good night.
All right, yeah, you too. Take care. Okay, for people who are interested in beta testing, the new social media website for truth seekers, you can send me an email at gematriaeffectnews@gmail.com. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Pretty soon the website's going to launch, and I hope it takes off. And I want people to understand that even though that, you know, I'm having the website built, I don't see it as mine. I feel like what I'm doing is because people invested in me, I'm taking that investment and I'm investing back in the community. And I want it to be seen as, you know, it's not a Gematria website. It's not my website. It's the Truth Seeker community website. And eventually I want it to be like, you know, it doesn't have any attachment to me. It's just something that exists and it belongs to a community. And somebody is going to have to pay the bill for it eventually. I'll pay it for as long as need be. But in time, hopefully, it could be self-funded. So, again, that website's coming, and the whole point is to help people organize and network and have a safe space to share information online where they know that information will stay there. It won't be censored. I always think about how many times my channel's been deleted, and not only do I lose all my video content, but I lose all the great comments that those videos used to have, you know? And it's changed. I mean, my first channel that got deleted, back before there was so much censorship. You know, the average video had hundreds of comments. Now I'm lucky if I get 12 comments on a video. But I mean, and there used to be so many great comments, and they've just all been, you know, wiped down the internet toilet, I guess. So this website's going to be about helping people organize a network, but also a place to share and have information saved and retained. So coming soon. Let's go out to New Mexico. New Mexico? Maybe New Mexico's just listening. All right, I take it New Mexico's just listening. And let me go back to Michigan, who earlier didn't respond, just in case I caught them at a bad time. Michigan, are you there?
Hey, Zach, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Yeah, I normally just call in now on your call-in line because the other line is hardly ever works anymore, and I don't want to miss anything. But so my brother called earlier, and he was just listening, and then that blind guy, I can't remember his name, but I've heard him so many times. He is pretty special. That guy is pretty sharp, and I'm blind. I'm not as sharp as him, but I was listening to him one time, and he was telling the story about his Indian tribe doing this powwow every year on the same day in Minnesota. And he said that.
Hey, sorry. Pause right there. The commercial snuck up. We'll be right back, everybody.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Anne, before I started using this product, every afternoon, my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up. Standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Jim Ram, retired. In early 2012, I was facing a laundry list of chronic health conditions that my physician was telling me were incurable. I knew there had to be a better way, and I learned how I could reverse every one of my ailments with science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition. In just a few months, I was able to reverse high blood pressure, gastric reflux, sleep apnea, arthritis, degenerative disc disease, heart arrhythmia, AFib, and many more. And I've lost over 70 pounds and kept it off. Now I'm hosting a radio program that's dedicated to helping my listeners do the same. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you're sick of being used as an ATM by your doctor, then you'll want to tune into the Your DIY Health radio program here on Truth Frequency Radio every Thursday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern and 6 to 8 a.m. Pacific.
We are TFR.
Destiny is all I need to prevail. Truth Frequency Radio.
All right, True Seeker, we're back. We got an hour and a half left. Every time that song comes on, it reminds me I've been doing this radio show since Prince was still breathing. And maybe he still is. You just never know. But for anyone being like, what are you talking about? I'm just talking about how, intro music was Prince, Kiss. Anyhow, last caller got interrupted. Again, we're taking your calls for the rest of the night, 213-233-3998. And the gentleman got interrupted by the commercial break, so he has the floor again. You're back, Michigan.
Hey, thanks, Zach. Anyway, I don't want to forget, I heard you talking about your bad back, and, that commercial that just played, I don't know if you hear the commercials, but Sergeant Jim Ram, he's a good buddy of mine, and we both are distributors in the same company. And, I just saw that doctor who started the company, and he reverses back issues all day long. It's very easy. And I wish you would keep my number and call me because I know I can help you, brother.
Okay.
But back to that. Yeah, absolutely. Take my number down and call me. I know I can help you.
Okay.
So,
appreciate that.
Back to the last blind caller, almost back-to-back blind guys again. He was talking about the sun setting, I think he said 23 degrees farther north. This was about 2 years ago. I heard him on a TFR show that's not on the air anymore. And I still have some sight left. He's completely blind, but I live in a home that faces the front is almost due south and the rear is almost due north. And I have I got two door walls and about a 5-foot wide window on the north wall. And in my dining room, I have right next to that on the west wall, there's a 5-foot window. And when we first moved in this home in 2010, the sun would set in that window on the west, but never in the window on the north. And then about 2 years after we moved in here, I started seeing the sun shining on the east wall of my living room coming out of that window on the north wall. It never shined in that window before. And then the next year it was shining in the door wall in that living room that's, farther east facing north. And now I have a door wall in our, the farthest room on the east side of the house that it's shining in that window now. So the sun is definitely setting farther and farther north. It seems like every year. I don't know what's up with that. I remember when they had that tsunami in Indonesia. Somebody said, I heard somewhere on some show that kind of shook the planet and I can't remember the exact term they used, but it did something to the Earth on its axis, and it seems like it's tilting farther north now. So I don't know what your thoughts are on all that, but I sure would like to hear it, and if there's any gematria involved.
Well, you have a great reference because you've been able to live in this home and observe that change. All I can say is what I've always noticed for my entire lifetime is I've always loved the summer solstice because of how long the day is, and because I live further north in Washington State, it stays a little bit lighter up here than, say, if you live further south. But for all of my lifetime, the sun set right about 10 p.m. on the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. And as for the relative position where the sun is in the sky, I couldn't comment on that. I haven't observed that. But to me, just that's always been my benchmark is, the longest day of the year and about how the sun sets very close to 10 p.m. So it's been that way for as long as I can remember. I probably first became cognizant of that as like an 8 or 9 year old. But as for the relative position of the sky, that's something I'd have to be more observant about. I find it interesting though, so I have to do some research on that.
Okay, if I may, that's interesting because I'm being legally blind. My sight I've always been night blind. I had night blindness, so the daytime and the sunset were always very important to me because if I was out, past sunset, I had trouble getting home.
Sure.
And you say 10 o'clock in Washington State. That's when our summer solstice was as well in Michigan at 10 o'clock. And I know now that I kind of tried to breeze through what that other guy was saying about the Minnesota thing. The powwow that they had, they would set their tents up or their wigwams or whatever they were doing in the exact same position every year. And it may have been on that, it was on one of the solstices. I don't know if it was the summer or the fall. But he said that, because they positioned it in that same spot for 100 years, that's when they noticed that, oh my God, this sun is, they were able to measure that 23 degrees because they were in the same place every year and now they're not,
Right.
So anyway, I thought it was very interesting. And if he's listening, I apologize for not remembering his name. It's been a couple years since I've heard him, but he used to march with Joyce Riley, Captain Joyce Riley. She's dead. She had cancer. We lost her a couple years ago, and he spoke in front of Congress several times. I've heard them talk about him testifying to Congress about the Gulf War syndrome, and I think he lost his sight because of the Gulf War. But he's a pretty sharp guy. I'm very impressed with what he has accomplished, and I just appreciate your show and having this open forum. And sorry for taking up so much time, but keep up the good work, man.
All right, will do. Thank you so much for tuning in. You have a good night, friend. Appreciate your call.
Thanks, you too.
Take care. Okay. Now, I remember I checked on New Mexico and they didn't pick up. Let me just try one more time in case I caught them. New Mexico, are you there? Maybe they really are just listening. All right. Thank you for listening, New Mexico. And, I'm losing my memory. Pinehurst, Texas, did we check in already?
Yeah, we talked, man.
Okay, appreciate that. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you so much. And all right, let's go out to Atlanta, Georgia then. Atlanta, you're up.
Hey, what's up, Zach?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for calling.
Not too much. It's Eric, a long-time listener. Hey, I was wondering, I had a question. Have you heard anything from Brother Bird, Extra Capsule? He used to have his website up.
I believe he has something going now. I know that WordPress took down his blog probably close to a year ago, which is unfortunate. And I'm not sure if he set up operations somewhere else. I would hope he did. I'm doing a web search right now. It looks like he's on Twitter. Let me see.
Oh, okay. I don't have Twitter. I was wondering.
Well, his last post, though, was September 2nd. But So a little more than a month ago, but he was active on Twitter up until September 2nd. So.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I was just listening and oh yeah, one other thing, a story that was in the news today about and it seemed like it happened about every year around this time. A story about a car plunging over a bridge. A couple people died in Indianapolis. I don't know if you just had a chance to check it out.
I missed that story. Indianapolis Bridge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, a car plunged over a bridge and killed, I think, 2 people in Indianapolis, Indiana. Yeah.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Yeah, so I was figuring that we usually have a car fall off the bridge or a bus crash around this time, World Series and football and all that. So I was just listening. Good work. Keep it up, and I'm gonna keep following.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Eric. You have a good night.
All
right, take care. All right, let's go out to New York City. New York City, you got the floor.
Hey, Zach, what's going on?
Hey, man.
Last week I wanted to say something about forgot. When the baseball games is over, do you ever see the post game? The post games, who's sitting on the post game? Sitting at the post game?
Well, sometimes. Why? What's going on?
Did you notice David Ortiz last week? I'm just thinking this dude got shot like a couple of months ago, and he was up there like nothing happened.
Right. He's right.
You notice David Ortiz?
Yeah, he's been part of the broadcast team. I have noticed that.
Okay. I really don't got too much today. But did you see the story about the Major League umpire did a tweet about impeaching Trump? About something about an A call. He got to get his AR-15 to start shooting people because they try to impeach his president. You see that story?
I didn't, but I got to look up that story now that you bring it up. Huh.
His name is Rob Drake, and he's 50 years old.
Okay, I see the story. Yeah. Huh.
Yep.
Okay.
And I really don't got too much, but what you think about the Trump and the impeachment thing with the Republicans trying to bum rush the thing today?
Well, I thought it was funny that all the headlines mentioned they were eating Cheez-Its. So I was like, no, why are they telling us that they're eating Cheez-Its? So I had to type in Cheez-It, and I saw it equaled 113 like politics. And yeah, it was like more political theater. So
they think. So I think that they're gonna go for impeachment probably back after Thanksgiving, probably, right?
Yeah, I saw Mitch McConnell say the whole thing should be wrapped up by around Christmas time. So we'll see.
All right, that's it. I don't got too much. That's it.
All right, appreciate it. You have a good night, friend.
Okay.
All right, take care, man.
Okay.
And since he brought up Trump and umpires, that makes you think of the World Series. Again, we've been talking about how the Steve Scalise supposed shooting at the Republican baseball practice on June 14th, 2017, Trump's 71st birthday, how that story's synced up with this World Series. It was part of how we called a Nationals and Astros World Series before it happened. With regards to that being on Trump's birthday, and again, for people, if you want to go back and look at this, the day of the Steve Scalise shooting, June 14th, 2017, that was 132 days before the start of the World Series in 2017. And keep in mind, that was the 115th Congress, and now it's the 115th World Series. But if you go back and look at the baseball box scores from the day of the shooting, June 14th, 2017, 2 scores will stand out to you. The Astros beat the Rangers 13-2, and the Braves beat the Nationals 13-2. And the shooting was 132 days before the World Series. So teams in the World Series this year, Nationals and Astros, involved in those rare baseball scores. 15 runs in a game, that's a lot of runs. 13-2 in both ball games. So there's 132 rooms in the White House. United States of America equals 132. Again, the United States of America was named the United States of America 132 days. Excuse me, allergies. The United States of America was named the United States of America 132 days after the establishment of the Bavarian Illuminati, May 1st, 1776. So there's some relevance to this number. And anyhow, what's really interesting is if this World Series goes to Game 7, what's really interesting about that is it would be 138 days after Donald Trump's birthday. Because again, we're talking about this story now with Trump and the umpire and Twitter. And anyway, and Donald Trump's been talking about the World Series and Steve Scalise during the baseball postseason. But from Trump's birthday to Game 7 of the World Series, if it goes there, is 138 days after his birthday. Donald Trump equals 138. Federal equals 138. We just saw, oh, did I forget to say Nationals? Nationals equals 138. We just saw the Nationals beat the Cardinals by the numbers. It was the Cardinals' 138th season. And then what else is weird is if you look at the date of Game 7, which is October 30th, if you look in the NBA, Houston and Washington, D.C. are playing each other in the NBA on that day too. So it's like, are we going to Game 7? Because, man, is that ever synced up with Donald Trump's birthday? So we'll see. We'll see. I think this World Series will either end in Game 5 or Game 7. We'll see. So that said, let's go back out to the callers. Cleveland, Ohio's up next. Cleveland?
Hey, Zach, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
I've experienced some weird synchronicities, man, with the callers and actually some of the numbers that you just mentioned, because they're kind of along the lines of what I wanted to say. I didn't really have much to say tonight, so I'll make this quick. Rambo was talking about the numbers 146. That looks a lot like, Trump's birthday, 6/14. Well, if you go to the 6th moon and the 14th day on a 13-moon calendar, that day is December the 26th. So that kind of connects to the circle, because December 26th is the 360th day of the year. So 360 kind of like a circle. 6/14 though leaves, the 6th moon and the 14th day leaves 7 moons and 14 days remaining on the calendar. And if you go to the 7th moon and the 14th day, where you find is that day is January the 23rd, 123. So it's kind of connected to the numbers that you were just mentioning, the whole 132, because January 23rd can be expressed as the 23rd of January, 23/1. That number in reverse is 132. I thought that was kind of interesting. Also realized that according to the number you were just mentioning, 138, I follow the lottery, and I realized that in Michigan on October 16th, they actually played 138 straight like in the morning. The number fell was 138. So I'm assuming that could possibly be a clue that maybe it will go to 7 games in the World Series. That's a possibility. Also wanted to bring up, this would be my last point, and then you can put me on mute. I noticed like when Randall calls in, he mentions this guy who wrote a book called The Birth of Christ Recalculated, Ernest L. Martin. And in his book, he acknowledges from his research that he believed that Jesus Christ was born on September 11th. Ironically, that's the same day I believe Coptic Christians recognize the birthday of Jesus Christ. However, I would like to say that for my research, I've come up with a different day. And I will say, without necessarily saying the day, I don't think it's necessary. I really think that this is something that is very important to me, just from the type of research that I do using the numbers and gematria and whatnot. But I think it'd be more beneficial towards the people who are interested in the subject to dig into the topic themselves, and come up with the answers that they find. And let me say that the date that I come to is not really. It's the day that I came to based upon my own personal research, just how I use my decode on the on a daily basis and whatnot. And for example, on September 11th, I believe if you look at what I did, for example, I paid attention to what numbers played in state lottery on that day. Because I initially, my initial research when I was looking to the subject, it actually led me to the day that, September 11th seemed like it was the strongest day to me. And I didn't know about Ernest L. Martin, so I heard Rambo mention him. I checked out a few excerpts from his book and a few interviews he did in the past. But, as I paid attention to what numbers fell in different states on September 11th, the numbers that fell in certain states actually corresponded with the day that I personally, that my research led me to believe the day that he was actually born. So I would just encourage, people out there who are interested in that topic to probably dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper. I know Rambo, through his research, which seems like it's heavily dependent upon Ernest L. Martin, that, Jesus Christ was technically a Virgo. But I believe if you're a person who kind of not really studies the Bible, but if you're frequent with some of the terminology or some of the metaphors and the euphemisms that are in the Bible that describe Jesus Christ, some of the imagery that's used, and then it would give you a clue as to the astrological sign other than Virgo that Christ, I believe the sign he actually falls under. And I think I will be doing it injustice if I didn't just give that sign out before I signed off. But according to my research, what I said today, Jesus Christ, instead of being a Virgo, was actually a Leo. And I'm going to leave it at that, and you can put me on mute.
You don't want to give out this day, huh? So that would mean it have to be somewhere between late July and late August.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. The mystery continues. All right. Appreciate it, man. You have a good rest of your night. All right. Take care.
You do the same, man.
Yeah, he's been feeding us that mystery for a while. I still haven't solved it, but he's been bringing that up for probably about a year. That he believes he's calculated the day of the birthday of Jesus Christ. Well, I wonder if the date could be August 9th. That'd be interesting, just because the Gospel's 89 chapters, religion's 89. Maybe he'll tell me next time. We'll save it for next time. I'm interested in what his thought is. All right, let's go out to California. California, how are you?
Hey, Zach, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right. I wanted to just comment. This is my first time calling in, and wow, your callers are great, and I'm blown away with like the knowledge, the depth of knowledge that these people have, and you yourself. And I've just kind of looked into gematria in the last couple of years, not much, just here and there, but I'm out here in California, and I could see that I remember you talking about the Saddle Ridge fire.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I could see it actually from where I live. I could see it. And at any rate, I remember you were talking about 77, and so I looked up and I found an article. It said, and I remember I was driving to work, and they gave this headline as well on the radio. And the headline was 77 homes damaged by 8,391 acre Saddle Ridge fire. And I was like, wow, I remember Zach talking about the 77. And then I was wondering about the 8,391. It seems kind of specific,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that would mean.
I'd have to research that. I just actually typed it in real quick to see if it was a prime number, and it's not. In numerology, it would break down to 21 and 3. I'd have to think about it more, but yeah, you're right. It does seem like a specific number, so there might be some correlation there I'm not aware of.
Yeah, and this article came out on October 15th, and it said 77 homes. Is that 77 days left in the year, or?
I think it is. Let me double check that. I believe that is correct, though. They really love that number, 77. Let's see.
It's wild.
Yeah,
it's wild.
that is the day leaving 77 days left in the year. That's the same day the Nationals eliminated the Cardinals in DC on the 77th meridian, giving the Cardinals their 77th loss of the season. So, yeah, news by the numbers.
Wow. Wow. Okay. And then I just have two other things, or one other thing, and one question. And if you want to comment on the other thing, you can or not. It's up to you. I was looking up. I kind of was learning about the Luciferian religion and about Al-Azazel and the God of Mendes. And so I was looking up the God of Mendes, and then I was looking at all kinds of different stuff. But I found this. There's a band. And this band released an album. It's a second studio album called The Goat of Mendes. This is on the Wikipedia. I'm reading off it right now. And it says, English death metal band Ackercock. All right. And what tripped me out was this thing was released on 11 September 2001.
Huh. Okay. I'm going to have to do some research on that. That's very interesting.
Yeah. And that blew me away. I was like, maybe this is common knowledge, but I was like, this is crazy, and there's a, full on the album cover, it's kind of like a goat on it, and some naked chick, so I don't know. And then,
sit tight, because the music's starting.
Oh, go ahead.
Sit tight. We'll be right back, everybody. Commercials here.
Hi, my name is Ella, and I'm 10 years old. I'm one of the millions of children born to parents suffering from the sheeple virus. Symptoms include the inability to think for oneself, the attention span of a goldfish, and a strong belief in government and the mainstream media. It is estimated that 1 out of every 2 children are being raised by parents infected with the sheeple virus. But there is a cure. For as little as 19 cents per day, you can become a TFR supporter and help children like me get their daily dose of truth. Together, we will make sure every child has protection from deception.
Impeachment pushback, massive blackout. I'm Barbara Cusack. A top Pentagon official who oversees U.S. policy concerning Ukraine testified before a House impeachment inquiry, but not before a 5-hour delay. 24 House Republicans stormed their position in protest. Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy was one of the lawmakers inside the session.
None of the people who came wanted to talk about the substance of the allegations. Instead, they made the allegation that the process was unfair, despite the fact that more than 40 Republicans are participating in these proceedings, despite the fact that they have equal time to question the witnesses.
Pacific Gas and Electric began its second massive blackout in 2 weeks, affecting nearly 180,000 homes and businesses in Northern California. PG&E chief meteorologist Scott Strenfeld says weather conditions led to their move.
This combination of wind, low humidity, and dry fuels on the surface is leading to conditions that, according to the National Weather Service, could produce extreme fire behavior and also high risk of significant fires, according to the Northern Operations Predictive Services across vast portions of Northern California and into Southern California.
The 5-week-long strike at General Motors could be coming to an end. The latest indication comes as UAW workers at one of the largest GM factories have voted to ratify the new contract with the automaker. Talk of a border wall caught the attention of Colorado's Democratic Governor Jared Polis today. Addressing folks in Pennsylvania, President Trump boasted about the secure wall that's going up.
We're building a wall on the border of New Mexico, and we're building a wall in Colorado. We're building a beautiful wall, a big one that really works, that you can't get over, you can't get under.
Paulus and others on social media noted that Colorado does not share a border with Mexico. I'm Barbara Cusack.
Oh, man.
Wherever you are, make it Truth Frequency Radio.
This is not a valid condition orange. Condition orange. Situation Delta in effect. Please enter your agent number now, followed by the hash key.
We have to create culture. Don't watch TV. Don't read magazines. Don't even listen to NPR.
Time comes when silence is betrayal. More for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. Think for yourself. Question authority.
This code has been compromised.
All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. We got an hour left. We're taking your calls the rest of the way. Last caller got interrupted by the commercial. He brought up this death metal band. I think the name of the band is Acker Coke. Maybe I'm saying that wrong. Acker Cocky. I don't know how to pronounce it. But I did look it up. They have an album called The Goat of Mendez, which pays tribute to Satan. It's all stated here. It did release September 11, 2001. And what's really interesting about the album name in gematria, The Goat of Mendez, sums to 68. And again, 1968, that's the year World Trade Center construction began. The year 911 was made the national emergency dialing code. The year George W. Bush graduated from Skull and Bones. Again, 2001: A Space Odyssey came out that year. The New York Jets Super Bowl winning season. So the Goat of Mendez, 68. Another thing you could add to that list of 68s with regards to 9/11. And really do appreciate that observation. I'd never heard of that before. Let me go back out to the caller so they can finish their thoughts. All right, friend, you got the floor.
Oh, right on. Thanks, Zach. Thanks for breaking that down. That was awesome.
Yeah, no problem.
So and then last comment was I got in kind of late tonight, but I remember one caller a few callers back was talking about how they do this and I using the gematria, and I understand for like planned events, say like whatever false flags or whatever you want to call it, those kind of things I can understand. Now in sports, I can understand to the degree that the referee can play a part and certain players, but there is it's wild how it can work out still with even there has to be some margin of not error, but just some leeway for people that are really playing the game and I don't know, the wind blowing one direction or another.
Sure.
And I'll just listen off air and just take your comment on that. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure. And I do appreciate that last question. I have the same question. And, last year I really liked Virginia to win the college basketball tournament. And there was a moment where I thought, my girl was right next to me. I said, I'm going to be wrong. The ball got knocked into the backcourt. There was almost no time left on the clock. Player ran down, grabbed the ball, fired it down the court. Big man on the team grabbed it in midair and tossed it up and put it through the hoop. And Virginia won to advance to the next round, and then they did go on to win the championship. And we've done this with college and pro. We've identified what the numerical rituals are that are going down, and we've been able to call championships. If you weren't with me in February of this year, I put out the video for free. I didn't just do it on Patreon, but I showed how the story of the lieutenant governor of Virginia, Justin Fairfax, how the story that came out accusing him of raping a woman while he was at Duke, that story came the day before Virginia and Duke played basketball, and it was synced up with the date of the championship game. And I said, here's one of your news sports stories. And I told people that day, it's either going to be Virginia or Duke who wins this championship. By the start of the tournament, before it began, but right at the start, we knew that the Virginia coach was sitting on a magic number. I didn't think he was going to lose again, so Virginia was my team to win it. And there was a miraculous thing that happened. I forget if it was in the Elite Eight or the Final Four. I lose track, but it was one of those rounds where Virginia just barely survived. And I just thought, like, how do you script that? And a lot of my followers said, well, they could have scripted the play for him to knock it in the backcourt and throw it back down. I was like, man, that's a really complicated play. And I mean, it got off with just, what's the phrase? The skin of my teeth, or you know what I'm trying to say. But there's been plays over the years where the expected outcome has been reached, but there's been some plays that just really made me go, man, I don't know how you script that. So is there an element of magic at work in these rigged outcomes? It's possible. And it might be something that you'll never have a definitive answer to, or maybe someday maybe eventually somebody who will come across this study and will learn how to apply it and learn to use it in a magical way, maybe as the powers that shouldn't be due. So it all remains to be seen. And but yeah, I have questions that I still don't know how to answer, like what I'm describing right now. I've just observed it. And last year, a lot of people probably remember the really severe injury to Alex Smith, at least as it was reported. I didn't see it live, but you might remember what a crazy ritual that was. It was synced up with, I can't think of the quarterback who injured himself on the same day, on the same hash mark, 33 years to the day. I cannot think of his name right now. It'll come back to me. But anyway, a lot of bizarre things over the years. Some things are hard to explain. Let's go out to Missouri.
How's it going, Zach?
Hey, it's going well, thank you.
With the World Series, I'm not 100% who's going to win, and I definitely need to sign up for the Patreon and get some of the sports info. I'm kind of leaning toward the Astros. Travis Scott last year put out an album called Astro World around like maybe August the 3rd, so maybe that could be signaling kind of like how the Drake album came out before the Raptors went in. So I definitely want to keep a close attention with the World Series and see, are they trying to give, Houston another title with the World Series?
Sure.
Do you have any thoughts as far as who's going to win the World Series?
Oh, I do. I've been, and I even pretty much put them out there for free in the videos I did. I just showed how Steve Scalise's full name equals 105, like Nationals, the umpire who just died, his full name equals 105. If the Nationals win the World Series, they'll have 105 wins on the season. They'd also give the Astros their 57th postseason loss all time, and World Series equals 57, Nationals equals 57. And since you asked that, I just switched over to see the scores. I had to grin that the Nationals are up 8-2 right now. Washington Nationals equals 82. They came into the World Series 8-2 in the postseason. They improved to 9-2 yesterday. Astros equals 92. And today, if they win, they'll be 10-2. The word magic equals 102, and that's the phrase for the Nats this year. Nats magic. So, in the media sold the world that the Astros can't be beat. So that's kind of like the mind control. But the numbers have been looking pretty good for the Nats. So.
Yeah, and they winning pretty convincingly, so it doesn't seem like that they would lose. It would be shocking if they would ended up losing that.
And also, I know you posted a video about LeBron and how he scored the 66 point. And I noticed that live in the game. And that kind of goes back to what you were just saying. Like, it's kind of hard to rig something like that, but I guess it has to be some type of magic, or it has to be some type of, it has to be something, because why would the camera slow down? Why would LeBron like mean mug the guy? Like that's like LeBron's signature dunk. So him dunking like that on a 66 point,
and
his name equals 66.
And if you go through LeBron's career, like literally that dunk on the 66th point happens all the time with LeBron. I've been pointing out for years. I'm just always like, look at LeBron on the 66th point.
Wow.
It happens all the time. If you pay attention to the rest of LeBron's career, you're gonna be like, man, there it is again. There it is again. It happens so much. And you know, last night the same game, Lakers and Clippers. Kawhi Leonard goes to the free throw line. He makes the free throw and gives his team gives the game combined 213 points. What's the clock stopped at? 2 minutes and 13 seconds. LA, the 213 area code. Kawhi Leonard from LA. And how did that game begin? The Clippers were down 2-13 before they started their comeback.
Yeah.
But I'm just always amazed, game after game, week after week, how they line these rituals up so perfectly and they hit. And it's just like, how do they do this? I mean, how do you get it so that you have it stopped right at the perfect time? It boggles my mind, but they do it season after season. So,
but also with them going out to the 13. So Lakers had 13, the Clippers had 2. Even the people in the media would want to make a point. They said that the Lakers got out to a 13-2 start. And so to me, that's just a weird number to even make a point by. So people in the media have to be in on the scheme too, to point out that they were up 13-2. Like, this is not really. I just don't think it's a number that you would stop at when you're describing a game.
I agree. And look how often the commentators foretell like what the next play is going to be. And to me, it's obvious that it's a scripted theater, but still, even the way they pull off just things like we were just talking about with the 213 tribute, it still just, it makes you go, how do they do it so perfectly? So.
Yeah, Kawhi Leonard jersey number is 2, and Paul George's jersey number is 13.
Right, and they were holding those up together, weren't they, when they signed, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the last thing I want to add is basically my predictions, because I know you pointed out that LeBron's name comes out to 66. LeBron right now, he has 6 losses in the finals.
Right.
So if he somehow wins, 3 titles in a row, which it definitely seems far-fetched, but the media, they kept making a point to say the last people who did the 3 titles in a row was Kobe and Shaq. And so it looks like that they kind of put Anthony Davis on the Lakers to kind of help LeBron, get to his 6 titles, so they can kind of equal his name to, 6 wins, 6 losses. So that's something that I'm kind of looking at. I'm really banking on them winning the title this year to try to, play out the. I know you mentioned the King James version of the Bible is 66 books.
Right. And last summer, if you go to my July 2018, right after LeBron was signed, I put out a video on my sports channel, it's still up, about why I thought LeBron had a good shot to three-peat starting this year, the year he'll be 35 years old, because King James equals 35. And then so imagine that he won this year. So then he'd become 4-6 in finals. In the King James Bible, Psalm 46 is well known because the 46th word says shake and the 46th word from the end says spear. So 4-6 in the finals would be a King James tribute. And then if he got to 6-6, again, LeBron's 66, LeBron James is 66, and Lakers is 66. And again, before LeBron joined the Lakers, he was on the Cavs, and his last game against the Lakers while a member of the Cavs, for both teams, it was their 66th game of the season. And from the day of that game to the day he signed with the Lakers was 113 days later, like how the National Basketball Association's 113, like how Los Angeles CA's 113. So, yeah, it's all perfect ritual the way they execute it. And that game was also on March 11th, 11/3, that 66th game of the season for both teams. So between them doing all that, I think there is I think there is a good chance that he could get to 6-6. Another scenario to consider is if he went to a finals and he lost, he'd also fall to 3-7, and Los Angeles is 37. So it's possible, but as big as 66 is with his career, I won't be surprised if he does end up winning 3 more championships. So
exactly, because they keep tearing LeBron against Jordan, and and Jordan's tagline is, he went 6 for 6 in the finals. He never lost the finals. He was 6 for 6. And I think Jordan's height is even 6'6". And Jordan's last 3 final appearances all went 6 games, all back to back to back.
Right.
So I think that they're trying to really, transition and trying to say that LeBron will be the greatest of all time if he, at this stage of his career, actually gets it. The last thing I do want to say, I do think that there's a correlation between Bill Russell and LeBron James. Bill Russell, he's been to 12 finals, 12 final appearances, and he won 11 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And LeBron right now is at 3-6. So if he gets to 3 more finals, he'll be at 12, just like Bill Russell did. And Bill Russell actually wore. So Bill Russell actually wore the number 6 jersey, just like how LeBron, he plans on switching back to the number 6.
Right.
And if he does that, it'll be 6 seasons of him wearing it. And then we type in Bill Russell's name, I think it's 141. And it's similar to LeBron James being 114. So it just, if you move the number. And I think they're even the same height. They're both 6'8".
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Bill Russell.
Another thing about the Bill Russell LeBron thing.
Well, absolutely.
Go ahead.
It's even in my book covered the relationship between Bill Russell and LeBron James. And when LeBron went to 6 straight finals, the way ESPN covered that story was LeBron, the first player to go to 6 straight finals since 66 when Bill Russell did it. So clear 666 tribute. Right. And in the most pure cipher, LeBron James and Bill Russell both summed to 42, and that's how long the beast rules for in Revelation, 42 months. That's what's going on with that. And I imagine that when LeBron completes whatever he's going to do, that's probably also when we'll be reading about Bill Russell's obituary, the way these people do things. So.
It was something else with them. Oh, another thing, what they're doing with the LeBron Bill Russell thing is that, Bill Russell, he won all of those titles for the Celtics. And the Celtics and the Lakers are like a long time rivalry. So now they're completing this key, the new Bill Russell, who is LeBron, win the. But I think that's how they're really trying to work this, work it out.
Yeah, I'm with it. Hey, friend, I really appreciate your call. Your signal's starting to drop out, but you brought up a lot of great points. Thank you so much, and call us back soon. You have a good night.
Yep.
All right, take care, man. All right, take care. Okay, that was too bad. Yeah, cell phone signal got weak. Let's go out to Tennessee. Let me see. Call board's acting slow. Tennessee, you got the floor.
How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
I guess my question for you would be, how do we move from this reactionary to revolutionary? We're analyzing all of this important information about sports, and I don't discredit it by any means, but how do we step forward? What are your answers?
Sure. So we got to organize a network, and that's why I'm building the website that I'm building right now to help people organize a network and share information. And when we are organized, I always imagine things like going to a sports stadium where 50,000, 100,000 people are gathered, and help waking those people up to what they're participating in, the energy they're giving away, the money that's being stolen from them, the time that's being stolen from them, how they're being duped. And what if you could convince a large portion? I always just imagine every single weekend how many people are filling up the football stadiums, millions of people worldwide. And what if instead every weekend, some of those people gathering to watch a rigged sports game, they were gathering to, start the revolution that is so badly needed. So somehow we have to figure out a way, those of us who are awake, to spark the sleeping masses. And that's only going to happen with knowledge, information, convincing ways to present it, and some sort of established network. So that's my goal, to make those things happen.
Well, and I will say that you're doing a very good job of, at least waking people up to some of the events in the world that happen, and some of the things that, make many of us, like myself, question, who is in charge and what is happening.
Sure. And more people need to ask that question.
That, absolutely. And, recently, with everything that's going on in CNN, with the impeachment process and the proceedings, et cetera, we get so lost in what's going on that we fail to look back at history. And, with Bill Clinton, with House Resolution 611, which when you reverse that, if you invert it, that's 9/11. But when you reverse and invert it, it becomes, or whatever, it becomes November 11th, So I'm curious to see if you have any opinions about the upcoming, political atmosphere in our country.
Sure, that's an interesting observation. I didn't realize that was the number on that. I'm going to have to go back and look at that. And of course, that was probably the biggest news story in America prior to 9/11, the whole Bill Clinton impeachment. Well, with regards to politics, it's just another tool to help keep people divided and fighting. And never before has politics been this divisive. So. It's a bad time for people who aren't awake, that they're getting caught up in energy sucks, and they're being pushed out, further and further away from the unity that we need as a people to fight the people who actually are our enemies. That's what the media is doing. The media is making it so that every day you have a new rivalry, a new group to be against, whether it's transgenders or liberals or conservatives or et cetera, et cetera. It's just people are being given these things to divide over, and they're living within this narrative that's fed to them, and then they're not seeing the people who are actually pulling the strings and giving them these false choices to make. So. Again, what needs to happen is people need to have this matrix of misinformation and misdirection broken for them, and to see the larger picture, like the people who are tuned into this program are doing. So that is the work that's ahead of us. And everyone's just got to do their part. I mean, I found myself in a situation where I had more free time than most people because of choices I'd made earlier in my life. And I've been using my time to make it happen. But I'll tell you what, time flies, and for the 6 years I've put in, I don't feel like there's been enough fruit. So my goal is also to figure out how to be more effective with this, and I'm hoping that website that's getting built will help correct the problem. So,
absolutely. And with this impeachment proceeding, and all of everything that's happening, and the movements that we see in our country, in my opinion, it's very obvious that there is division. It's always two sides to the same coin, and I just wish that people would wake up to that, and as a gay man living in, and I appreciate everything that you have to say, but as a gay person, some of the language that's used by some of your callers, et cetera, it's hard to imagine that, we can all unite in a certain way, and appreciate the fact that we are in a corrupted system. And so,
right.
You're right. I guess
you're totally right. I'm glad you brought up that you're gay, because I mean, so many people have these beliefs that gay is wrong. And it's just like, look, if you believe that gay's wrong, that is your belief, but don't use that as a reason to dislike a group of people. And those are the things that the media and religion and government has really done to society and instilled in society and made it part of people's identity. And those are the things we have to get over. We have to stop fighting about all these nonsensical things. I have to be honest, as someone who lived in Seattle, Washington, and would get hit on by gay men because it's more of an open city, it does get annoying when it's an aggressive man, but it doesn't make me hate all gay people. It just makes me, I'm like, okay. Like I always have this scenario. There was this guy who was like 6'8" and he was a gay guy, and we were at this meetup thing, and it wasn't for gay people, it was just for all people coming together. I could not get this guy to leave me alone. I felt like, but for like that night, I probably had my most, the most animosity I'd ever had towards gay people, just because this guy was driving me nuts. But as soon as that was over, I was like, okay, but that was just one guy. That's not going to make me dislike an entire group of people. And more people need to be less opinionated about certain things that really aren't any reason to dislike any group of people. If I'm communicating that clearly enough, so.
No, you absolutely are. And, I'm going to go ahead and, I understand I'm taking up your time, but I feel like we're having a good conversation. When you extend that to, the Jewish influences, that we talk about or whatever, at the end of the day, we have to look at religion as a design thing, because just as you yourself, discussed, sports themselves and, all the championships, they are to a degree designed. And so why are not world religion? And, I know many Jewish people who are wonderful people, and I know many Jewish people in the media and who control certain facets of Hollywood who are corrupted. And so that led me to kind of just, research, what is being a Jew? What is Judaism? And that led me to, further inquiries about the Catholic Church. And my question for you, I guess, would be, in regards to this, is what part do you feel?
Caller, save your question, because the commercials, we'll get that question right when we come back, everybody. Those pesky commercials.
Establishment are running scared right now, and they've prominently featured TruthFrequencyRadio.com as number 89 on the federal government's hit list, also known as the fake news list, which is essentially a list of sites slated for censorship on Facebook, YouTube, Google, and other social media. Now is the time for you to get involved. Share your favorite TFR shows far and wide on forums and social media. Tell your friends and family about your favorite shows. If you're a business owner, get in touch with us to feature your product or service right here on TFR. And if you haven't done so already, become a TFR supporter now and get unlimited commercial-free downloads in high quality. Visit truthfrequencyradio.com/sign-up. Thank you for making TFR the leader in independent and uncensored talk radio. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find us on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code POWER to get $10 off your first box. As a special bonus, we will include our #1 rated Lipo3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. Whatever your diet plans are, start with us at faststartdiet.com and use promo code POWER.
Greetings, Earth Explorers. My name is Brooks Agnew, and I am your host on X Squared Radio every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Truth Frequency Radio Network. This is where the past meets the future. We explore the mysteries of the universe and of the Earth. We might go a little past your imagination, but have no fear. you will be safely traveling with us. We will dissolve the propaganda of dangerous people with dangerous plans for the planet. We will discuss the latest technologies and challenges for humankind. We will discover the safest place for you to stand when the thinkings and doings of mankind come flying apart, and how you can be one of the people that helps put it back together. Join us.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR Frequency Radio.
All right, we're back. True Secrets, the final 30 minutes. The show, it just goes by so fast, even when you're standing. That caller, he was about to ask a great question. He got interrupted by the break. We're going to go to that. I just have to grin again. I was just talking about how the Nationals could improve to 10-2 in the postseason tonight. The score is now 10-2. And again, the word magic in gematria equals 102. And that's the Nats rally sign this year. Nats magic. So we'll see if the score finishes there 10-2. But let me go back out to the caller who just got interrupted so he can ask that one last question. Memphis, you're back on.
All right. So I guess my question was about, what role do you feel that the Vatican plays in all of this? And, because ultimately in my research, and not that I'm any type of, specialist in numerology as you are, but I truly feel that the signs and the symbols and the imagery for many major events point to the Vatican. And so, instead of blaming it on one particular group of people, why not consider one of the most wealthy organizations in the world,
Yeah, you're right on. I think the Vatican really is at the heart of it. I agree with that. Again, the story is the Knights Templar secured this knowledge of Kabbalah and brought it back to the Catholic Church at the end of the Crusades. And it's kind of how it spread to the elite of Europe and then eventually the world. So, yeah, I think the Catholic Church is a major player. But again, there are other facets. And I agree with you what you said about Jewish people. Again, it's not all Jewish people. You can't blame all Jewish people for what you see. But no doubt about it, they do have a disproportionate amount of people in the news media. And you look at certain individuals, to keep in the realm of sports, you look at a guy like, oh, God, I can't even think of his name. He's the guy who does ESPN late night every single night. I can't think of his name, but he is a Jewish guy. And he gets on there and he makes fun of people like me, these YouTube conspiracy theorists about sports, give me a break. And then he's showing how gambling lines get switched with crazy stuff at the end of the game to screw over gamblers. And it's kind of like a mockery. And he's the type, his name's Scott Van Pelt. That's what his name is, Scott Van Pelt. But for people who are awake, when you watch a guy like Scott Van Pelt mock the masses, he's the guy that helps spread the stereotypes and in the prejudice, I guess, if you will. But yeah, again, you do have to remember, it's not all groups. Like, you can't, even if it is the Vatican that's at the heart of it, doesn't mean it's all Catholics are responsible. So you got to identify the people who actually are.
No, I'm speaking as a Catholic person,
Sure. So, yeah, I think you're right on.
But I appreciate you taking my call. And I guess my last message would be for, during the commercial break, I went through these comments and, it really does, it's to a degree, it's disheartening. And to the other degree, it's enlightening, because at the end of the day, if we can't all be unified based on our beliefs and the way that we choose or the way that we feel that we need to live out our lives, and I'm speaking, like I've already mentioned, to my lifestyle, and people like myself, we don't necessarily feel that we've chosen those lifestyles, but at the end of the day, I'm on your team, and and it's not that I'm trying to convey any message, that's against anyone's beliefs, but it's just that, don't look at a fellow person who is with you and then ostracize them based on your predisposed, ideas about their lifestyles. Really open your eyes. If you're opening your eyes to gematria, then you need to open your eyes to gay people. You need to open your eyes to people of different walks of life. And, I'm going to keep tuning in. And Zach, I appreciate it. Thanks for taking my call and for letting me talk for this amount of time.
You're very welcome.
Hate is not the way. And you have a good night.
All right. You too. You take care, friend. Yeah. Have a good night. And about, online chat. I mean, part of the problem with online is people say things that they would never say in person, right? They know that they're anonymous, they're safe behind their computer, their screen name. So they're going to talk big and say more hateful and hurtful things than they say in person. Because in person, they know there'd probably be repercussions, like maybe having a few less teeth. So, if you're one of those people that talks big behind the computer screen, I mean, it's probably never going to change, but wouldn't the internet be such a much better place if people didn't do this, the online trolling and whatnot? It's just like the people who troll me all day on my Patreon page, the team of employed people that just post on that site like it's their job. If you're not signed up for my Patreon, there's literally about 10 people that are on there 24/7, 365. All they're doing is bad mouthing everybody, talking nasty, making up every insult, keeping track of every last thing that they can get me for, misrepresenting everything, and, posting my address and saying things like, oh, you deserve to have your throat slit. And I'll even respond to them sometimes. I'll say, look, you're posting my address. You're saying you want to slit my throat. I say, why don't you come to my door? You can even come with the butcher knife. I'll give you the knife. Come to my door since you're going to put out my address, and I'll let you bring the knife. I bet you I'll still, whoop that little booty. And, I just know that these people aren't, because they are the ultimate cowards. They're the ultimate lowlifes. This is why they do what they do. So don't be like the ultimate lowlifes. If you're not somebody who's an ultimate lowlife, like you don't think of yourself that way, but you're someone who always talks trash and says all this stuff online that you wouldn't say anywhere else, you should think about that, because maybe you are actually an ultimate lowlife. And that's the one problem with the internet, is just that people abuse that. And, it's just like, I always noticed, like, if you played the online video games, and I honestly haven't played an online video game for probably like over 10 years, but I just know if you get on there, like, you can hear other people talking and chatter. Everyone would always be throwing around the N-word, calling everybody the N-word. I'll be like, okay, this doesn't happen in society. It's not like you go out to play a basketball game and everybody's calling each other the N-word. Why is this happening online? Of course, it's because, again, people feel safe. You don't really know who I am. You don't really know what my name is. So, I mean, people who do that, think about it. It really is like you are the definition of a coward if that's how you behave online. All right, no more of that. Let's go out to Iowa. How are you, Iowa?
Hi.
Hello.
I can't hear anything. Oh, hi. So I left a comment. I don't know if you saw it earlier or whatever, but I was just watching this thing tonight. Did you say you live in Seattle, or is it Oregon?
Well, I used to live in Seattle. I moved from there last summer. Now I live in the middle of Washington State. I'm from Portland originally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, have you done? And I'm sorry, I used to watch you a lot, not last spring and summer and stuff. And then I've been doing other things and stuff. But so I don't know if you've already covered this, but I was watching a show. There's a German guy who does his channel is Kochen mit Willie, which means cooking with Willie or something like that. And he was doing stuff on predictive programming. And have you done anything about the FS that they predict for the November 3rd this year on the Seattle Seahawks game?
Yeah, I did do a response because a lot of people were asking my feedback on what I thought about it. And it is an interesting day, but again, the video that's gone viral is what I refer to as fear porn, you know, because he's telling everybody they should evacuate Seattle and the city's going to burn like in Terminator. And I just know that isn't, I mean, nobody knows the future, but that's not the way the New World Order operates. It's not like they turn an entire city to fire and dust. If it ever did happen, you know, you could say maybe Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but I'm not even sure that those events are historically accurate.
I guess I don't know if which one went viral, and the one I saw I didn't think had that. I guess I didn't really pay attention to the views. I just saw it tonight. There was another guy called No More News that was kind of evaluating his thing. But I just didn't know if you'd done anything with the numbers and because they go through a lot of different movie things where like they pan like at the stadium they pan up and they show like section 322, which there isn't one there, and then they even use like the 44th week and the third day and stuff like that, 4403 and different numbers and combinations with the Seattle thing. Anyway, I just thought it would be interesting to see, because I'm sure you get a lot more out of the numbers than some of the things that they, you know, that the guy knew.
Sure.
And I guess, yeah, that's all I have to say for now.
Sure.
Let me else go.
So since you're interested in that topic, though, something that's interesting is I know that the maker of that video, he points out that there's a music video called, or a group called World Order, and they made a music video called Let's Start World War III, and it came out March 11th, 2017, maybe 2018.
Yeah, last year. Yep.
Whatever day it is. What's interesting is from the date that song came out to November 3rd, 2019, I noticed it was 602 days later. And the reason that stands out, 602, is that's the Seattle area code in reverse, which is 206. And that music video ends in Seattle. So I did think that was a little bit interesting. And again, at the beginning of this year, I said Seattle, I expect them to be in the headlines more than normal. And then shortly after that, you had the death of the Nordstrom CEO who's from Seattle. And then you had the breakup of the Seattle mega couple, Jeff Bezos and his wife. Seattle equals 19. It's the only city that sums to 19, just like chaos is 19. So if there was a big event at the end of the year in Seattle, I wouldn't be shocked. But again, I don't expect it to be the entire city and all the people wiped out as the one video predicts. So I think that's a little bit too much fear porn. But Seattle could end up in the headlines in a big way before the end of the year. So I wouldn't be shocked.
I did remember one more question. And I know you're writing another book, and I don't know all the context of it and everything, but like you were talking earlier, wondering about like the magic and the numbers and things. And I wondered sometimes, you know, because I definitely think there's a connection there, just because like there's a connection with, I mean, everything, you know, and the spiritual and the physical. And just like you said, even the way they do work the numbers, the way all the predictive programming, all that stuff is a form of magic, you know, and the way that they used to bring things about and the illusion and the way people react to things and stuff. But I was wondering, like, do you ever cover whether, or have you talked about what comes, kind of like what comes first, like the chicken or the egg? Like, is it, you know, is everything that they do, like when it comes out to the numbers, some of that I believe is planned. Do you ever think any of it is simply synchronicity? You know, like that the numbers actually mean something, and when you do something, it ends up that way or something.
It has to be, because all of us who are aware of this knowledge see synchronicity in our own lives. So it has to be that way sometimes, I would say, yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, thank you for your time and giving me the floor, and that's all I had.
All right. Appreciate your call. You have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Take care. Okay, you guys, we got 13 minutes of show and 6 people on hold. Let's do a minute to 2 minutes of call. We'll get through everybody. Maryland, you're up.
Hey, how you doing, Zach, man?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. I'm just calling to make a couple quick points. Hopefully I can get them all out. Basically, a couple weeks ago, Mahomes was in one of the games or whatever. It was like 3 weeks ago now. Basically, you know, his number is 15. The play was 3rd and 6, by the way. His number is 15. He looks the referee directly in the face, whose number was 66. He runs back 3 yards from the 10-yard line, So that's 3 yards right there. Runs back to the 10-yard line, and then he runs down 33 yards and runs out at the 43-yard line. Just thought that was interesting because he basically ran 33 yards plus the other 3 that he ran back. So that was 36 yards altogether.
Right.
Basically, I wanted to add on that the guy from New York, he called in and talked about the observation of the dynamic duo. We talked about the observation of everything happening together. That right there is not a mistake. I would say that it's organic, yes, but at the same time, it's also just when you bring things into your consciousness, that's what you kind of bring towards yourself. So, for example, I just bought a silver Honda Odyssey. And you would just be amazed at how many oddities that you see after your consciousness is in that mode.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So basically, I think that this guy, since he does, just like the rest of us, he does gematria so much that basically he's in a zone now. You know what I mean? He's like just seeing things and they're connecting. So basically, if you involve yourself into something or if you're focusing on it so long, it'll just start coming to you anyway. That's just the way that your brain works and the law of attraction works anyway, the universal law. Yeah, that's it right there. In terms of the elites dying, I read something many years ago online where they talked about basically when there will be a person who's up next. So for example, let's put it like this. You have George Bush Jr., then you have George Bush Sr. If I'm not mistaken, it was George Bush's Jr., it was his duty to cut his own father's head off, basically because he is the successor from the predecessor. And, they don't believe in God or they like to disrespect God on the regular. So what more way to disrespect God than to not let a person die naturally? They will, take that into their own hands, so to speak.
Sure.
So that was another point. Another point would be if anybody has any questions for themselves and you really want to know a deep down answer. I learned this a long time ago. I just actually found out that I was allergic to wheat by doing this exercise. And basically what you do is that at the same time every day, make sure that you meditate at the same time every day. And you basically ask yourself the same question for 7 days straight. After the 7th day, you should receive your answer. It's the craziest experience. You will hear your higher self literally talk to you. Make sure you do it at the same time every day for 7 days though. And I'm going to try to wrap it up right here. Basically, there's a book that I have. It's called The Encyclopedia of Crystals. It's by Judy Hall. And basically on the inside of this book, it breaks down how each crystal has a certain chemistry associated with it. It has a certain chakra that's associated with it. It has a certain number, a certain planet, a certain zodiac sign. So basically, there's no doubt that numbers are connected and everything is all, it's just synchronicity. Everything is synchronicity. So yeah, just that in itself, just basically is that everything is connected. So we really realize, I think personally, that there are spirits inside of numbers. Right now on the internet or YouTube or whatever, you can punch up angel numbers, and angel numbers are constantly speaking to us all the time. So for example, 111, that would mean that you're about to step through the double gateway. You're kind of, going into a new chapter of your life. 555 also means the same thing, where you're going into a significant change. 888 would mean that you have a lot of riches and longevity and prosperity on the way. And it keeps going on and on. 444, which Jay-Z used, that actually means that you have a lot of ancestors that are having your back right now. So definitely the numbers, if you ask me, they are a way kind of connected still with the guy from New York, because it's organic at the same time that it's also you doing the gematria. So it's like, basically to me, it's like, yeah, we're speaking, because for example, I just lost my mother 3 years ago, and in 1946 was the year that she was born. You would be amazed at how many times I see 46 throughout the day, and to me, that's her speaking to me. You know what I mean? So I think the ancestors or the people who have passed on, your family, they speak to you through numbers, that vice versa, the same way you speak back to them. And I'm going to wrap it up with this. This is my last point. The lady said earlier that she called in. No, I'm sorry. Basically, it was this lady that called in early on in the week. This was going to the sexuality. And I'm sorry, she didn't call in. Let me get my words straight. But basically, this woman, she's a famous woman. She was talking about basically on Twitter saying that she felt that it was wrong for basically people to be pushing sexuality onto the children, essentially. Whether it was homosexual or heterosexual, either way, it seems as though that it's just all this sexual talk. And I just want to know your thoughts on that. And I'll go ahead and, hang it up now and just listen to you if you don't mind muting me.
Yeah, appreciate it. A lot of great thoughts. And I do agree. I think pushing sexuality on children too early is wrong. I mean, it's part of life, it's part of adulthood, and the majority of your life you are an adult. So there's something special about being a child, and sexuality is not really part of childhood. So, and no doubt about it. It's just like the other night, CNN had a transgender town hall, and they had a 9-year-old boy come out. His name was Jacob. And he said, "I am transgender." And the whole place just roared and applauded. And I was like, come on. I mean, he's 9 years old. I mean, he says he wants to be a girl. Is he going to feel that way when he's 12? Is he going to feel that way next week? I mean, yeah, it's not right. This isn't what Jacob, the 9-year-old, should be thinking about. Is he ready to transition? So anyway, let's go out to Kentucky. How are you, Kentucky?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
All right. Well, yeah, sorry. Anyway, there was just one point I wanted to make about November 8th upcoming, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, and then I'll let someone else call in. Basically, from the July 4th earthquake to November 8th is 128 days, whenever you include the end date, right?
Okay.
Whenever you don't include the end date, it's 127, and Garlic Fault is 127. So is the Bavarian Illuminati and Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. But whenever it's 128, Bridge Collapse in Ordinal is 128, and Independence Day is 128 in the same cipher. And 128 days is 4 months and 5 days, and of course, 45 Golden Gate forwards and backwards. But yeah, I just kind of want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, they're good observations. That Sonic the Hedgehog movie comes out that day too, and the movie poster is him on the Golden Gate. So we'll have to watch. I mean, yeah, you just never know. Great observations.
Oh wait, it comes out on November 8th.
The movie Sonic Hedgehog comes out on November 8th. Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
But, all right, that's all I had.
All right. Yeah. Appreciate it, man. Take care. Okay. Philadelphia. Oh, hold on. That didn't seem to work. Let's try that again. Huh. Why is my call board not working? Let's try it one more time. All right. There we go. Philadelphia.
Can you hear me, Zach?
I hear you.
Okay, because I've been dropped a few times off the call.
Shoot.
And had to call back in. Well, I won't have time to go over any more of the decodes that I had for the Eagles. Want to point out a quick thing that I saw on TV real fast, and then go to my next point. Mohamed Sanu had 33 receptions for 313 yards this season. So I found that interesting. But did you ever do any decodes on Mars Day and the time?
I did a little bit of work on Morris Day and the time, especially when he performed to start the Grammys the other year.
Okay. Well, they have a song that I grew up on that I like called 777-9311. And I don't know if you did any decodes on that.
I'd have to go back and look. I might have. 93 is a big time number, so it makes sense that they had that in the sequence.
In the sequence, right. But I put it in a gematria as a 777. I spelled it out 777-9311. And in English ordinal, it comes to 401. For reduction 149, reverse ordinal 463, and reverse full reduction 157. So I was wondering if any of those numbers stand out to you.
They do, but relating them to time off the top of my head, I'm not sure about the time connection. So I'll go back. If you haven't been to my blog, maybe type in Morris Day. I might have done a decode on that a few years back, but off the top of my head, I can't remember what I did. So I'd have to go back and look.
Right, because him and Prince, you know, they were actually best friends.
Mm-hmm.
They were friends.
Right.
Went to high school together, thing. But then that's that Minnesota connection.
On the 93rd meridian in Minneapolis, Minnesota equals 93 too. Yeah, I think that's why they were called time. Whoever gave them that name. So,
right. If I'm not mistaken, it might have been Prince.
Yeah. Yeah.
Prince did a lot of them and for them. But yeah, just those numbers, the 777, 93, 11. You know, it just stood out, and you know that was just something that I wanted to give make a quick point out of. I'll call back in next week. I will have some more information on the Eagles decode, and maybe even start with the Sixers since it's basketball season now.
Okay, I look forward to it. You have a good night, friend. Keep it up.
You too. Thanks.
Take care. Yep, see you. Okay, Wisconsin. Hold on. My call board is not responsive. Wisconsin, you got the floor.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, man?
What's up? We got 1 minute of show left, so you get to take us out.
Oh, I just want to say thank you for waking me up, man. Like, for real, dude. Like, my whole family was a Packers fan, and I can't even, like, watch sports now because of you, dude, because you, like, decoded, like, everything, dude, and I believe you 100%. I can't even, like, watch football now, dude. So
I know the feeling, man.
About that.
All right, well, I'm glad it's positive for you. Appreciate the support, man. You have a good night.
Yeah, you too, man.
All right, take care. Be safe out there. All right, and Minnesota, right next to Wisconsin. You get the final word tonight, Minnesota. We got 30 seconds. Minnesota? Maybe you don't want the final word? All right, well, shoot. Okay, we got through all the callers tonight. That was a first in a long time. Appreciate all the support, everybody. Be back next Wednesday night, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. to midnight Eastern. And be sure to tune into all the blog and YouTube content we put out each week. All right, have a great rest of your day, your evening, depending on where you are. Until next time, True Seeker. All right. And for everybody in the chat, really appreciate all the support. If somebody's trying to call the phone right now to hop in, I don't have it in the room with me. I have to go get the phone if I'm going to stay on. So I can't hear any phone calls right now. Thanks for the support in the chat. Appreciate that you guys like the show. Honestly, I better not stay on because the sweet lady, she asked if I'd spend some time with her tonight rather than stay online for 5 hours. But we will do another live stream. And just so you know, I am planning on starting up another 3-hour live stream each week. So we'll do the Wednesday night show. And then I'm trying to figure out what would be the best day of the week to do the other show. Or maybe I could do 2 smaller shows, maybe like 2 2-hour shows. They're not going to be on TFR, but I'm going to start doing some additional scheduled live streams. And then that way we can get through all the callers each week. Because normally there's a lot of people who call in, and I don't get through them all. So I figure if there's a few more nights a week where we're on live and people know when to expect, they can call in at a different time. Hold on. Martin says, could you give me my wrench back? Oh, yeah, sure. You can have a wrench, Martin. I guess people don't have wrenches because this is the new channel, and I never really went about doing that. All right. So you think Monday's a good day to do it? Monday could be the day to do it. All right. Yeah, Monday might be the day. So I'll since I'm throwing that idea out there, people can post the feedback in various ways as a comment or whatever. What day of the week would make the most sense? My problem right now is I'm just thinking with my schedule. Monday's always a really busy day. So is today, Wednesday. But I'll figure it out. So yeah, Sarah, when you can have a wrench too. People like to have their wrenches, huh? Okay. All right. Somebody says Sunday night. I was kind of thinking of Sunday night. That's kind of the night I was thinking of. So. Yeah, Sunday night might be the night to do it. So I'll keep everybody posted, but I'm planning on doing that. It's not going to be this Sunday, but it's not too far off. So, and again, if you are interested in beta testing the new website, which should launch soon, shoot me an email at gematria@gmail.com and put beta tester in the headline so I know that that's what you're writing about. I see we got some fighting in the chat. What else? What else is new? What would the chat be without a little fight? So anyway, we'll wrap it up there, you guys, and we will be back. I'm sure I'll be back on with some. I'm probably going to upload some videos tonight, unless my lady scolds me. There's some video topics. If you didn't follow my blog, I put out some blog posts today. I wanted to do some videos on that, but I didn't get a minute before the radio show started, so I'll make some videos on that as soon as I can. But yeah, do follow my blog. Just as a reminder, I put out a lot of content there. Sometimes I forget to make videos about things, but I try to keep up with everything on the blog. So, all right, everybody, have a great, again, rest of your day, your evening. Until next time.